ghost most, Tim Patrick. With me always is my hetero life mate,
Randu.
That's what 2 O's, right? Not 3.
That's correct. 2 O's.
Today we got a lot of topics we want to talk about. We're going to try to keep it a little more structured this time so we're not off the wall and we're bouncing around and everywhere else. And I know you had a lot of topics.
Yeah, so I'll start it off this time. I usually start it off every time because this is my show.
That's what you
show.
do.
This is my basement. That is.
Right. My cousin's basement.
Yeah. So the first topic I have today for the old podcast is what makes a good horror movie?
See, there's so many different things that makes a horror movie.
Yeah, and
Creepy Kids is one of them.
Creepy Kids is one of them. Like my son
Just walked in the room.
Just walks in the room, trying to get in here during the podcast.
Hi, Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky. And what are you doing here, buddy?
You trying to podcast?
You coming over? Coming over with us?
You didn't bring your own microphone. You didn't bring your microphone, bud.
You didn't bring my phone today, did you?
Burp. So there's a lot of things that can make a horror movie. You have to. Obviously, the most obvious answer is in order to scare somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's so hard to do nowadays, I think.
Well, yeah, because everything's been done so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to be original, I guess you can say, in that idea, where to make something like a new type of horror construct or maybe just a new type of genre of horror, because it seems like obviously there's a lot of subgenres of horrors, and there's a lot of different people and ideas of horror, either psychological, physical,
thrillers.
There's just gore,
yeah.
Of course. So it's hard because everything's been done, and that's the biggest prize. It's like, how do you be original, and who allows these people to take chances now? And horror is such a hard genre, I think, now to even get people in the theaters or to watch the movies. So to me, you have to be really edgy, really. You have to be really original in it, and I don't know if there's movies or books or what people go off nowadays, but it seems like the indie films do good in horror now because there's not really studio films besides like Jason or Michael Myers or something like that. So to me, what makes a good horror story at the beginning is it's like the beginning of the movie there has to be a hook, right?
Yeah.
There has to be
something that grabs you in and says, "Hey, watch me."
Yeah, there has to be like a complex killer, something that really drives your attention and like, okay, now I'm like really like right as soon as you get in the movie, like either a kill scene or something crazy that happens that actually makes you get involved right away, and like you're like, oh man, what the hell just happened? And that's the way I think about it. Like, when you watch the new It, spoiler if you've never seen the new It, but right when they get in there, Georgie gets his armpit off,
right.
both movies, right? And the way they do it in the second one was like, whoa man, that was really crazy. Even though you knew it was coming if you've seen it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff like the hook to me. It hooks you right away. So like I feel like that it has to happen in a horror movie right away.
Yeah.
And then after that, there has to be like some type of character flaw. I feel like.
Of course, you got the dumb blonde, you got the jock, you got the smart one, you got the cheerleader. Sometimes that's a dumb blonde.
Uh-huh.
You have the masculine guy, or even the strong woman that everybody follows. The non-book smart one, the one that knows how to deal with killers all of a sudden or whatever.
Yeah. And then after that, I put. This is just the order I made up. Right?
Yeah,
This might be no specific order for everybody else.
Right.
Character fears.
Yes.
So I'll let you talk about that. But like just like you know a lot more about horror than me, but still like there has to be some type of character. So there has to be some type of character fear in the actual movie,
obviously,
or show.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what it could be. It could be fear of heights or fear of clowns. It could be a fear of
just a guy in a hockey mask.
Yeah, whatever. Something that keeps him afraid. The dark, something, right?
Yeah.
And then after they kind of develop the character fears and they kind of show that in the movie or show, I've came up with there's like no escape circumstance. So like I always feel like in a good horror movie, you always wonder like, oh, there should be a way for these people to get out of this, and usually it's something that's haunting them, or they can't escape it because no matter where they go, it follows them, right?
Right.
So
some kind of closure.
Some type of closure, correct.
Gotcha.
So that's where I went with that, and I'm trying to think of like a good movie that has that. I mean, I guess we could use Halloween because obviously Michael Myers every Halloween follows
Yeah.
people around, or with Freddy, it's always them going to sleep. But I don't know if that is that really a closure thing or anything in that movie.
With Freddy?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about
Or no escape circumstance.
well, you're dreaming. You have to go to sleep
Right.
eventually. So I mean, that's kind of like no escape there. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they give some of the kids, like in Jason vs. Freddy, even they gave Nancy in the first one. They gave him Hypnosil, which is a drug that makes you not sleep, not dream.
That's right.
But again, you're still eventually you're going to, or somebody's going to.
Right.
And kind of like with Freddy, he's like inevitable because somebody in Springwood or Springdale, whatever the hell it's called, is dreaming somewhere, and his name comes up.
Mm-hmm.
If his name never came up, he wouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Hence, like Freddy versus Jason, he was so weak when he first came back because that genre, that generation of kids did not know who he was because their parents did not mention them.
Right.
And that's what gave him his power, was people knowing him, his ego, his whatever.
Yeah.
And it just makes his head blow up, which makes him strong.
Right. Okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the no escape circumstance, and then the next one I put in line was, for a good movie, in my opinion. After that is like some type of jump scare horror. Not every movie needs jump scare horror,
Right.
but it needs to be like some type of foreplay. Like it makes the audience think. Like keeps them on the edge of their seat the entire time.
Keeps them tense.
Tense, exactly. Like every movie doesn't need a jump scare, but if you do it and you do it right, it gets people really like, oh man, that scared shit out of me. But like it keeps you engaged in the movie, right?
Right.
Now, if you just do like a popcorn film and all you're doing is jump scares,
Every 5 seconds.
yeah, then it's like, okay, well,
I could do that. Just watch it with somebody.
Exactly. It's like this. Obviously, there was no real, intelligence, put into this movie. It's like there's no thought, you know. And the way I was looking at it is, it's like those kind of movies kind of are. I'm trying to think what kind of movies those are nowadays.
Those there's just so many of them nowadays.
Well, regardless,
Yeah.
the jump scare horror, it's good for.
It's been done.
It's been done a million times,
Yeah.
but I think there's something to it in the movies or
Yeah.
shows that make you and keep you intrigued while you have that.
Okay.
Then after that, then whatever's going on in the movie, like the evil attacks, right?
Mhm.
So you finally get some big hurrah moment in the middle of the movie, right? It's either somebody attacks or something and gets you, and you're like, okay, now I'm invested, like in The Exorcist or whatever.
Yeah, it goes back to the hook. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to the hook, exactly. It goes right back to, it's kind of like a music, right?
Yeah.
The hook and everything.
Exactly,
goes
yeah.
back, right? Whatever. The way I was thinking about it. And then after the evil attacks, then you got some type of investigation.
Right.
Like, what's going on?
Why is it attacking? Why is this house?
Like
Whatever.
Like in It. Like, why does the clown keep attacking, and why does it always repeat itself so many years in
Right.
history? Why does Michael Myers always attack on Halloween? What's the theme behind it? And people figure out, right? So something to...
Why camp counselors?
Why camp counselors, yeah. And then after that, it kind of goes to, like, after they investigate, it kind of gets down to, like, the final showdown with them,
Good versus evil, always.
There's
always good versus evil in there.
And once they do the good versus evil thing, then, that's like, I guess that's like I don't know if that's the climax in the movie or what do you want to call it?
That is normally towards, like, the third act, I guess you would call it, before the climax.
Yeah, and then after that, to me, would be, like, the aftermath. And evil lurks, right? Like, so something good happens and everyone's like, yeah, the day's over with, right? But then at the end, there's still, like, some unknown, like, is there evil still lurking around?
Right.
Like
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, right. Is something, did he really die? Is Jason really dead? Is Michael dead?
Right.
Is Freddy really gone, right?
Right.
Did they just suppress him for a while and he went back into hiding? Or It, or whoever, right? That's what makes a good horror film for me. If there's speculation at the end, you don't know for
future movies,
just like what's it called, with Ghostface, whatever it's called, Scream, right?
Yeah.
Even though they might have killed someone, there's always someone else to live it on, right? Like
the story goes on.
So I think and why I brought this up is because there's just so many bad horror stories that come out nowadays.
Well, let me address each one of these points of yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bring them back up.
So the first one was the hook, the complex killer. In my opinion,
you always have to have something that hooks people. Who's not, they're going to lose interest. Like with me, I don't have short attention spans like most people nowadays. I will sit through a movie, no matter how horrible it is. I will sit through it, and I'm already hooked basically. Even if it's just a a Jamie Lee Curtis and Jude Courtney film, if it's not Michael Myers, I know those two people were in Halloween together, I might watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the guy who makes the music for the movie, John Carpenter. Like, there's a lot of shitty movies that I've seen that had John Carpenter's music. I still enjoyed it because of him and stuff like that. And like you said, the storyline, it's got to hook you in there, the type of killer or whatever. That the hook is very, very important with horror movies, because you don't want the same carbon copy stuff like certain other big franchises that I won't mention.
Yep.
But horror's, of course, guilty of that too, of course. But
yeah,
but you just have to get people in the seats. You got to put butts in seats.
Mm-hmm.
That's what movies are for. If not, then why we even make them?
Yeah.
Then what? We're not going to have shit.
Right.
Or we'll have shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's true.
So, the hook is very, very, I think, very important in the movie.
Yeah, and, it comes down to the hook, even the marketing behind the movie, right?
Yep.
And I have a point to another topic later, but one of my points in there I'll bring up is the marketing has to be good, and it really has to be good with horror, because some people are just sold off the title of a movie, but with horror, unless it's nostalgic or something that, like a tentpole franchise, something that people already know, then the marketing has to be that great, right? Everyone already knows the name, and nostalgia sells it right there already for people who are horror fans. But for the newest stuff, marketing has to be great, but at the same time, it's like, don't give too much away, because there's plenty of times I see in the theater a new horror movie come out, and I'm like, oh, this looks really good. Or sometimes I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like,
exactly.
They don't give away anything. And it's like, you have no idea what you just saw, and they're like, come see it at this theater. Like,
the best scenes were in the trailers, like people say, which is very true.
It is very true, and that really, man, that is such a disappointment. It's like, I've said it before.
I feel betrayed.
Previous podcasts, I've said this is, I go into movies now with low expectations, because I've been disappointed so many times from not just horror movies, but just movies in general, where I'm like, man, I was so hyped up to go see it, and I'm like, what the fuck was this dog shit? And it's like, again, like you said, all the good parts were in the trailer, so why the hell?
Or not even just that, it's just not just the good parts in the trailer, it's just the trailers are so misleading anymore.
That's right.
Like that movie Malignant. Mm-hmm. It's about a woman who has some kind of dark past that her brother comes back or is trying to kill everybody. But then when you do watch it, spoiler alert, it's a malignant being. Basically, her part of her body, her twin that died, was still attached to her, the back of her head and stuff like that. He turned her into him and started killing people. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it. And it's just like, if you watch the trailer, the woman seems to go insane. She's doing all these killings she doesn't know she is until somebody brings it up to her, and all this. Such a curveball. It's like not even the same ballpark of what the trailer was, and that really pissed me off. And I thought, this is James Wan. I love his movies. I love Saw and some of his other movies. That one just sucked fucking balls. I will not. Whenever I see people talking about it, I tell people I do not. It's fucking stupid.
Now that you've said it, I've heard of it. I don't even want to watch it.
Don't.
It sounds so terrible.
Whatever you do, don't. That going on what you were saying about what people are saying about movies and stuff that's getting ruined for you. That's why I don't want to read reviews. If I want to see a movie, if I hear, example, Halloween's coming out this October. A few months ago or a month ago, whatever, you sent me a thing about Halloween Kills. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anybody's opinion. I don't want to hear any trailers. I don't want to see, maybe trailers, but I don't want to see any kind of Easter eggs, anything, because I want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
Because people ruin movies so fucking fast. It makes me not want to see them.
It's true, and you make a great point, because there is a time and place where I was all about, back like in 2016, 2017, I was still really big on reviews. I was like, oh, I'll go see reviews or whatever, and then my buddies Brandon and Sam got really like, dude, we really got to stop worrying about reviews, like, because it's so misleading, and it's a lot of these people are either they're paying to make these reviews, or people are just going on, they're torching movies because they don't like it, and it's like, not every movie's going to be for somebody. It might be not be for them, right?
Yeah.
It's just like we talked about many times before, but it's like, I think I've listened to some guys, like, he's like, I like Paul Blart, and he's like, it's a terrible movie, but he's like, I enjoyed them for what they were. It made me laugh and whatever. He's like, I like Kevin James. Right. So it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. So it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it was his, right? So I'm the same way now. Yeah. If I do read a review or see a spoiler, I try. It's usually on Twitter at all places. For some reason, it comes up. I try not to read it, but sometimes I get sucked in. I read somebody's in it. But either way, when I go see a movie like a Marvel movie or anything that comes out, I like to stay in the dark is the way we use the word now. I stay in the dark, like you were saying. I might watch like the teaser trailers, but I don't want to see too much. And Marvel's pretty good about not showing too much in their trailers now. But like Star Wars in the past was a real burner. I can't remember which one it was. It was Rogue One or one of the other ones where all the great parts were like the movie looks so fucking good in the trailer, and you get watch the movie, and you're like, what the fuck is this when we're in the movie theater? Like I was just disappointed, right? And you're not saying the movie like you. I was like, I'll stay through the whole movie and I'll watch it and I'll try to enjoy it for what it is. But most of the time, you're just like, man,
I paid $12 for this.
Exactly, and I don't know. I just I'm very big on reviews. Are not my thing anymore. Like I don't even make reviews anymore. I used to go up there and write reviews or whatever if I really want to, but now you have to be certified or you have to pay money and have a movie ticket theater to do that kind of shit, which is fine. I just don't really go on there and read reviews. It's either I go to family or friends that I know personally that really have the same type of movie taste that I do.
Exactly. I have my 5 people, and those 5 people, 3 of them are horror fans. So I'm like, all right, 3's better than none. Mm-hmm. So that's what I go with. I don't go with anybody else. I don't go with Hollywood things. I don't go IMDb or anything like that.
No,
and it's just because I trust my friends and family over some Roger Ebert I don't even know.
Well, right, and we talked about this before, but the amount of people that are actually certified to actually do movie reviews now are it's just all made up, right? It's not. Some people, this might be their full-time job, but they're getting paid under the table to give good movie reviews or TV shows or whatever, and you can tell. Yep. You can tell sometimes when it's legitimate, and you can tell when it's pandering. Yeah. If anything, I go off the audience score. I never go off the critic score if I really want to look at something, because most of the time, the audience is going to give honest feedback. Like, hey, like this was good, but this sucked. Or some people are like, this is dog shit. Don't watch it at all. And it's like, well, again, I just like to form my own opinion.
Right.
But again, it's whatever. It used to be more legitimate. I think now it's become more of
everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it, and it just depends on the movie to me. Like you're saying, like if I'm really into, they make a South Park movie, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I'm not reading one thing about it. Right. I'm going to go read it, or TV show. Like sometimes you even see for TV shows, put people on there like, this is a adult cartoon that's really went downhill. It's like, well, cool, dude. Not every dark adult cartoon is going to be for you. But you know what the difference is? Cartoons I like, the movies or a lot of other stuff, it's all original. It hasn't been done.
Exactly.
That's one of my key things that I hate in Hollywood right now is like everything is not original, right? It has to go through how many people's hands to actually get greenlit, and it's mostly become more of a business model than an actual like organic movie model like it was like in the 80s and 90s and probably in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Now it's more like, oh, well, what can we do to make money off this? Is this a franchise or a temple? Oh, it's not. Well, then we don't want this in here. All right. Or it doesn't check these 10 boxes that, instead of checking one, well, we can't put this in here. You need to do this, like let's shoehorn this shit into the movie or show. And it's like, why? Yeah. What does that do anything for the movie or the show? Probably not, right? You don't see that in horror really that much, right? I've noticed that lately. Like you're not going to see a lead female actress be shoehorned in to be the killer, right? If it's organic and goes into the story, cool, but it's not going to be shoehorned into it to make it just pandering for something. And people who are the fans, in my opinion, they'll see right through that shit and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm not paying to go see this. Like, it has nothing to do with it. It's like, but if it's an original story, it makes more sense, right? Like Sleepaway Camp, right?
Right.
The girl was our favorite movie. The girl dick.
Yeah.
Girl dick.
Girl dick.
Yeah. The whole movie, I thought it was her, but didn't think it was her, whatever, the first time I saw it. And it's like, at the end, I was really surprised, especially when your cock popped out. But overall, that was organic to the story. It was like,
exactly.
It made sense, like, that she would what happened or whatever. So, to me, like, those kind of can still exist. It's just like, stop forcing shit. It's like, just make it organic and happen, right? Yeah. Make it original.
Exactly.
That's it. That's like the point of where we're at now with horror. And I'm afraid you're going to see less and less of it, because it's not really like, you don't even see slasher films being made anymore, because they've all been done, right? Yep. Now what's the only thing you see out is Halloween.
And they're closing that story off.
Yeah, what's it called? Halloween Ends?
Yeah.
Or Dies? Or Ends. I've seen some other people with some other weird posters like Dies or something like that.
Probably original idea or something like that.
Yeah, or some fan made poster or something. Yeah. So talking back to our points, we were talking about, so we did the Hook and you wanted to go into it. I think it was complex level, sometimes gore level. Just depends on what you like in the genre of because there's so many.
Hook, it's just like fish. Mm-hmm. Different fish like different kinds of food. Mm-hmm. One fish might not like some worms. One of them might whatever.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they use.
And we can put these together because they kind of go hand in hand. It's the character flaws and character fears. They kind of they kind of hit on both of them. I didn't know if they would put it in order or what. This is just my made up order for totally. Stuff. So the flaws and fears. I know we're rehashing it again, but I think that's a big part of it. Like if people can get ingrained in the movie and get lost in it with a little bit of escapism, you could kind of understand like why they have fears and what their flaws are. Then it makes the story better. Right, because it makes it more believable in my opinion. Like you said, the bimbo blonde or whatever. Like why that bitch going out the front door? Why is she opening up? Like,
why is she going upstairs?
You know, like the black guy screaming at me. Don't do that, you dumb bitch, whatever, like that. And it's like, you know, she don't know any better because she's dumb. Like it's supposed to be like that, you know. And why is it always a blonde chick? I don't know. Maybe because it's a
stereotype.
It's a stereotype, right?
It's not always, but most of the time. Like I said, the black guy always dies first. Well, almost.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but almost.
It's part of their. I guess it's part of a horror pun or the character flaw, right?
A trope, whatever.
A trope, right? You can say that too.
Yeah.
And the no escape circumstance, you know, to me, goes down. I thought about it some more. It could be their cell phone doesn't work, right? Yep. It's like, oh, why don't they have a cell phone? It's 2022. We're making this movie. It's like they have no service. It's always the same thing. They're out somewhere. They have no service, right? Or their battery's dead. Or some they call want to answer the phone because they're over there having sex or they're fucking playing a video game or whatever, or they're in the
music's
bathtub.
Music's too loud
or whatever.
Phones will vibrate. You know, it's all kinds of stuff. Car doesn't start.
Yeah, car doesn't start,
or car doesn't have keys and they're fumbling their keys.
Yeah, and they drop the keys. Whatever.
They drop before they even get in.
Jay and Silent Bob show up and rescue you.
Exactly.
The killers.
Killer hockey kids. There's all kinds of like you said, escape stuff like that. They lock themselves in a room where there's no window, so they can't escape. They run up the stairs. It's just obviously that stuff is like filler for the movie in order to keep the movie going.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
obviously, it's not always plausible. In reality, most time this kind of stuff would not happen. But it is, in a sense, it could happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're not thinking if somebody's chasing you with a fucking 3-foot machete, you're not thinking. You're just running.
Yeah.
You know.
So you're scared a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So it makes you think if you're scared, you're going to do dumb stuff,
something stupid. Yeah.
Right. And hindsight's always 20/20. Oh, she should do this, but it's like if you're in their shoes, you got to think in the movie. That's what they're trying to portray, right?
Of course, it's like, of course, she's got a white shirt on outside. Oh, look at her. You can see her in the dark, or she jumps in the water, her tits are popping out. It's like, okay, you know, they have to keep things like that in the movie to keep the movie going.
Like the tit part of that's just good marketing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hook right there. I only watch this movie for the tits.
That's the mid in the movie or the second act hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep all the guys engaged.
Even women nowadays, you know.
Yeah, that's true too. So after that, I put in, obviously we're bringing it up again, jump scare horror, foreplay, in the movie.
Jump scare stuff, it's been done over and over, and there's no way you can really scare anybody anymore like that way. Well, I guess nobody. A lot of people, because a lot of times nowadays they try to use the music as a jump scare. Like Sam Raimi did it back with the original Evil Dead movies. Whenever he would like pan the camera, there's a part I'm trying to remember exactly. His ashes on the main floor of the house. The camera's up in the rafters, and every time he passed a what's a rafter, I guess it's or a stud, whatever in the wall, you hear a boom, 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 like some kind of noise, where it's building the tension up because it's quiet in the house, but he's panning the camera to make noise and stuff, and right as it gets dead quiet, boom, they got you.
Yeah,
and it's funny. Hi, Mario.
What also makes a good point.
Mexican?
I put this in parentheses. I forgot to bring it up. Was in my head was the sound. You're right. The creepiness of the sound is what makes a good horror movie, right? You know, like what makes a good Michael Myers film. The music, piano, the music,
always.
Right? Why do you think everybody likes John Carpenter? Because all of his movies have great music,
and it's always by him.
It's always by him, right? It's very creative and it's very original,
very eerie. It depends on I mean,
we can go back to Alfred Hitchcock. What was the big thing about it was always sound. Back in those days in the black and white films, that's all they had back then. They didn't have all the studio effects, and
CGI, and stuff like that. They couldn't get away with
the
a lot
creepy
of stuff
music.
They do
is what made people on the edge of their seat, right? And then, like I said earlier, with it going in the timing. It has to be good timing. Scares. Keep you on the edge of your seat, and you have some random thing that pops out and kills you or whatever, or something happens to scare you. Like the girl's like, "What's that noise?" And then when her friends pop out of the closet and scare them, the build of the tension before someone's gonna kill them. You see it all the time in Halloween and other slasher films. I mean, in Saw or not Saw, but what we were talking about earlier.
Exorcist.
No. The one with Ghostface again. Sorry, Scream.
Scream.
Yeah, they do that a lot in Scream movies too.
Yeah.
The jump scares because they're in it's usually high school or college kids,
Yeah.
whatever, playing pranks and jokes on them. And so, long story short about that is that's where I get it from. And the last thing about that is now the newer ones make the audience think. You know, I think that's the big thing from compared to the ones in the past was if you make the audience think, then you don't have to worry about using so much jump scares. It keeps people engaged the whole time because they're thinking about what's going on.
Right, exactly. It's just they're distracted basically. They show you one thing, but then another thing happens, and that's what I think is awesome because that's sometimes what happens in like real life. If someone's chasing you or whatever, you're thinking about you're thinking about the killer over here, but then like a Scream, there's two killers sometimes, and the one jumps out of nowhere, or even like Friday the 13th, you got Jason on one hand, but then his mother's over here, so it's like, dude, it's a curveball distraction kind of thing, or what's that boxing term? A rope-a-dope. They show you one thing, but then do another thing, which is awesome, I think, in horror movies, because if you think about it, that's what you have to do nowadays. Because like we said, it's hard to do jump scares because they've been done over and over and over again, and people like me look forward to those because I like seeing people jump like that, because I don't. I've not seen a horror movie, and I don't know how long that has ever scared me. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that really actually scared the crap out of me, because I know for one it's fake. I know it's Hollywood. It's makeup. It's special effects, and whatever. How do I say it? Whatever, I know that stuff is not going to kill me. I know Jason's not going to jump out of my closet and kill me if I go camping or anything like that, or the man girl dick from a sleepaway camp. I don't know anybody like that, so I know that Hollywood is fake. I know these movies are fake, so they don't scare me. But other people, they walk into like they're scared shitless of Pennywise because they don't like clowns. It depends on people, on how scared, how you can scare people. You can't scare everybody, obviously. Like me and you say, we can't please everybody on certain movies. Well, you can't scare everybody either.
That's true.
And again, because like I said, I could sit there through the goriest freaking horror movie and still laugh my ass off. That's just because I am, and I know it's fake.
Well, yeah, and sometimes some of these stuff in horror movies are very comical, right?
Yeah, very comical.
And some of that's supposed to be part of the
shtick.
The shtick, exactly.
Yeah. Because if you see funny things, then these scary things are actually scarier.
That's correct.
That's what I loved about Motel Hell and some of the other cheesy 80 horror movie. People think they were stupid. I'm like, they're not stupid. Dude, you watch them, they're funny as hell.
It just depends. Yeah, most people aren't going to get it because either if you're a horror fan, you understand where they're going with it. Obviously, some of it's dated, so that's what makes it funny too, though. Like, we're in 2020, go back in the 80s, right, which is almost
50 years ago.
50 years ago, which is crazy to think about, right? In the 80s, don't even seem like it's that long ago, but overall, some of the stuff is dated. It's just what it is. You gotta take it for what it is. But they didn't rely on special effects back then. They relied on doing
practical effects.
Yeah. Which is why the Evil Dead movie was
even Psycho. Psycho, they used chocolate syrup for the blood in the
Did you know? And this is just a little funny side note that I found out. Did you know the original Evil Dead? They did everything what you're saying with props and everything like that. Yeah. Well, even the new one, they did the same thing. They didn't use any CGI or anything.
Yep.
It was
same thing with the newer one that's coming out. It's supposed to be out this month, but I don't know what happened with HBO or something else happened. Mm-hmm. Maybe with Doctor Strange coming out, they want to hold it off a little bit, but it's supposed to be out on HBO this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Evil Dead Rises. It happens on an apartment building, kind of like a Ghostbusters, big high rise.
I'm assuming someone's gonna find the book again.
I don't know the whole entire thing. The only thing is I know it happens on a high rise. Bruce is not in it. They say he's not going to more than likely he's not going to make a cameo. Mm-hmm. But they always say that, but then they do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Just like he made a cameo in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, punching himself in the face.
Exactly.
Or slapping himself.
The end credit scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
it finally ended after 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's like, yes, it's over. Yeah. He's also excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has his hand in this newer one, but it's like I said, it's just on a high rise.
Well, you should a little bit. I mean, it's his story.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's his baby, him and Raimi's baby.
It's kind of like saying George Lucas doesn't have any hand in Star Wars anymore. You know he does.
Yeah, there's some kind of influence in there.
There's always going to be. They're always going to go to him. And
exactly.
The dude's is the one that created that world. It'd be stupid. It's like John Carpenter until he dies, not having some type of hand in Halloween or some of his movies. Right. Which we talked about in one of our Halloween episodes. I think there is another John Carpenter movie coming out. What's the one with the radio tower? I said again in there. The Thing. Isn't it right?
Yeah,
The Thing,
yeah.
right? I think someone talked about maybe redoing The Thing. I know they've
Another
already
one?
done it. Yeah, I've heard about them doing it.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, I know the reboots.
I know they're also talking about Christine too. So.
Fuck, please no. I
Thank
was talking
you,
about that with my
please, no.
talking about
Exactly.
that with my neighbor the other day, and we're talking about how they don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny too that you say that. Is we were talking about a friend of mine and I were talking about doing hear about horror movie being remade, and I brought up too. If they did Maximum Overdrive, that's kind of like how life is right now. The machines are kind of taking over. Your life is your cell phone, your computer, and stuff like that. And they could remake that movie.
That is a movie I would actually be happy to see remade as Maximum Overdrive.
I love the original as it is.
I remember my dad showed me that, and I was like, the trucks driving
Yeah.
and doing all that stuff. It seemed like, hey, this is something that's really plausible now,
Yeah.
especially with everything with AI coming up, like you're talking about. You could definitely see.
Because Chucky kind of did that. The new Chucky movie. I don't know if you've seen
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay. It took over all the AC, the thermostat, the dude speakers, everything. That is a very reasonable movie that could be remade. And if they do it, they have to remake the part where Stephen King was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like a guy that walks up to an ATM and called him an asshole.
That's right.
And he called his wife over, "Honey, the ATM just called me an asshole."
Dude, that was a great part of the movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite horror movie comedy parts.
Yeah. So there's a couple more things we got left in it,
Yeah.
and we can readdress it, and then I'm going to go into what makes a good slasher film.
Okay.
Okay. So we can go through these quick. Like I said, after the jump scare, I thought evil attacks is usually something. So
Yeah.
Michael Myers starts attacking people, slashing people.
Right.
Same thing in Scream,
Mm-hmm.
Jason, whatever. And then there's a bunch of chasing and going around, whatever. And then someone finally gets a hold of it, and they find all these people are dead. Now it's the investigation plan, and then the main character comes into play.
How do we stop him?
How do we stop him? Exactly. So it seems to be a very big trope used in slashing films, and even pretty much all of them, right?
Yeah, everything.
So I think that's why it was such a. It always keeps you. It's just like watching a mystery, movie or anything else, or a thriller or something like that. There's always some type of investigation that's going on that keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
To make it like, hey, there's all this speculation in your head. Could it be this guy? Could it be that person?
Right.
What's going on? Blah blah. Even though you know who it is at the end of the day, most of the time, unless it's one of those things where it's hidden, you don't know who the killer is.
Yeah. Exactly like Scream.
It's still exactly like Scream, exactly. So and then you got the final showdown to me, and then the aftermath and Evil Lurk. So we'll put those three together. So you got the final showdown with the main character and the main killer. Usually, they both get fucked up, and the main killer dies. Sometimes the main character gets killed. They both get killed, or whatever.
Right.
But for the most part, it's always like like in Scream. Somehow she gets away at the end, always kills the bad guy, which I always liked Scream for what it is now. Like I liked how what's his name when the Randy was always in there, and he was always portraying like what happens in a horror movie, and the guy always comes back one last time or whatever. It's kind of true. That's kind of like a Hollywood movie trope they used to use back in the day.
It's making fun of horror movies, but again, it's also explaining the formula.
Exactly.
And the formula always changes, it always updates, but it still goes back to the original.
Yeah, the guy always comes back for his last chance or something, and then they kill him, whatever. And then like I thought it was funny in Scream, which like they didn't come back to time like shot the girl right in the head or whatever, the mom. Yeah. Billy Loomis's mom, I think it was, and that second, I think it's second or third one, I can't remember.
Yeah, second one.
Yeah, second one. And then obviously the evil lurks at the end, right? You think everything's over with, and then now in movies you get these little Easter eggs at the end, like something cutscene or whatever, like shows like is it gonna be another one or is it gonna be a lead off or something, which I like because it keeps me engaged. It keeps everybody guessing.
It's the end hook.
It's a perfect way to put it. It's the end hook. And without that, you can't keep the franchise going. Or if you do, then you have to wait 5 years down the road, and someone's like, "Oh, you didn't see this," and then like there's then obviously money. You can do anything with money and put it into it and say you guys missed this and just put another movie into the little saga or series. But the end hooks are what keep people coming back. That's to me that's what keeps me coming back and makes me a fan of a good show. Or movie.
Right. See with me, okay. Well, I'll address the part with the investigation. You always have to have the investigation because you like you said you got to learn how to stop the evil or stop what's going on. Like people find out, it's Jason's mother. Okay, so then if you want to get to Jason, you got to get to his mother first. You got to pull his heartstrings. Or like Halloween, you find out that it's not really his sister, and you find out these little tidbits throughout the movie, and that's what's kind of good. I like because it keeps me engaged because then I realize like, oh yeah, they said this earlier. Maybe like what movie was that? Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the very end, she's like, okay, we have to figure out what this demon's name is. I know who he is, but I don't know his name. If I say his name, I beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you throughout the movie, the name Valak, which is the name of the demon, was in the movie throughout the movie. You have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a part where her and her husband are eating dinner or lunch or something like that, and on a bookshelf and behind her said the name Valak. Or if you go into the baby's bedroom or whatever like that, there's blocks on the floor that spell the name Valak.
Mm-hmm.
So if they throw little stuff in like that with movies, I love it because then I figure it out towards the end, like, oh yeah, that was some bitch, you know.
Those are the
great movies.
Those are the good Easter eggs in movies. And then you got like we were talking about that one time on our Halloween podcast was all the Easter eggs you didn't find. That you have to be like a mega fan, or you have to rewatch the film 14 times to figure out like the intro of all the different Halloween pumpkins from all the different movies.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then
you got the Halloween 3 masks in it. And
the mask and just things like that.
Things like even bringing back old people that were in the original movies. You know, like Lindsay Wallace was there. Then you had the what do you call it? Tommy Doyle. You know, even though I don't like Anthony Michael Hall like that, but
no, me either. I mean, he's a
good actor, but not for the horror.
Exactly.
His Dead Zone was meh, but you know, stay at the Breakfast Club and shit like
that. He was funny in those movies, and it fit his.
But once he grew up, he just no.
He's a different character as he got older. Like just seeing him in. Me and my wife like Entourage, so I watched him in Entourage, and he came in, he was being funny, and he pissed off the balcony or whatever, and like they got thrown out of the hotel or whatever.
Nice.
It's like that sounds like something he would do.
Right.
So,
but stuff like that, that's like you said, it's they have to bring the story to a close and they have to figure out how to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you say evil lurks at the end. You know, sometimes you have to make the evil survive or a part of it so you can continue the story. But I just wish, I know it's very hard to do for Hollywood especially, that if you're going to tease that the evil is still alive, make that freaking movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's.
I think they do it. I think they do it on purpose. They leave it open ended. That way, if they ever want to revisit it, they can.
Yeah, but
right?
a lot of them don't. Though that's the thing.
Well, obviously they don't.
There's no money or something like that, or there's no interest in it,
mm-hmm.
or something happened. Whatever. It's just like I want to see more, but you can't because nobody's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to do it or whatever.
That's exactly right.
You know, and that's why I like movies like especially I'll bring this up again. I keep bringing Evil Dead up. I don't know why, but at the end of Evil Dead, I don't know if last time you've seen it. It showed like the evil going through the cabin or through the woods, through the cabin, and then running into Bruce, killing him.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's the final guy, it's the next day, whatever, he kills him. But then if you listen to the music during the credits, it's all happy music, all polka, whatever the hell it was, and it slowly dies out. And the thing behind that is nothing survives in the Evil Dead, even the music. Which I thought was really freaking cool.
I never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool Easter egg. I bet only people that are mega fans of his work, like you, would know that. And or did their homework and looked into it and stuff. So that's cool.
I like when they do stuff like that. Where even like you have the end of Jason versus Freddy. In one part it was the actual theatrical version. Jason carried Freddy's head up back to his little crypt thingy that he had, but Freddy winks at you because Freddy's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Or even the alternate cut of that was Jason or Will, I think his name was, and the girl were trying to get intimate, whatever, and Freddy's claws pops out of the dude's hand. So you think Freddy's living? He's still alive that way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just these little things that show a continuation. They can continue the story. Like I said, I wish they would keep doing stuff like that because it keeps you interested in this franchise. Because so many movies have part ones and they might be a part two, or they go to a TV series and it just ruins everything.
That's the way I think it too. They instead of just doing what they should do and giving people fan service for what they're asking for, they want to drag it on and just keep sucking money and life out of it. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? That's the thing that drives me nuts about some of these movies and shows. It's like, okay, we could have ended this 4 movies ago, or like it's like why are we still continuing to do this?
Why
right?
is Jason in space? Why is Leprechaun in space?
Right? Why are they in space? Like what the hell are they doing up there? Right?
Exactly.
Like it has nothing to do with the character and the backstory. So
right. They have to go somewhere because apparently Earth is not good enough for them.
Right.
Or they destroyed Earth, right?
So yeah, and then as you said, like the aftermath, the evil lurks. That was like the ending for me. But so now I'm gonna move it on because I want to wrap this one up. I
have a meme for you. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, it's just stop going to space. If anything.
Well, yeah, everybody likes watching sci-fi horrors in space.
Exactly.
Especially when it's Jason. He goes to space in the
10th one.
Yeah, the 10th one, and he's riding Apollo 13 going up there to the moon.
All right. This is a meme I found the other day. It says, movie idea. Jason Voorhees kills a guy who turns out to be who is an actual hockey goalie. Mm-hmm. His team sees Jason, assumes he's their teammate. Jason has a new career. Jason turns out to be really good, so his team starts hiding all the murders he's committing. Friday the 13th, Jason on Ice.
I mean, that sounds more
plausible than a lot of the other movies we've seen.
Going to space, right? I mean,
yeah.
At least that's the way I look at it. So, all right. So I'm going to jump into what makes a good slasher film. Yes. Okay, and to me, what makes a good slasher film is the first one I'm going to go off with is there has to be some type of psychopathic killer.
Of course,
right?
They're the slasher.
So there has to be an introduction that shows you something. Again, we call it the hook. That gets you involved and you're like, okay, this person is one of the main characters and he's a psychopath. It's usually how it always goes in these killing scenes, right?
Right.
I know it's different in every movie, the backstory or the character arc or whatever, but it goes right in from the psychopathic killer to the killer's backstory, right? So you get hooked right away. Like, this is, Michael Myers, and he was a disturbed little boy, and he went to this home, and yada yada. You know the whole song and dance, right?
True, yeah.
And once you get involved in that, and I'll let you go back and do this, is then next is there's usually the setting and the location.
Of course.
Right? So it's either like in
Camp Crystal Lake.
Right.
The
Derry,
Ward.
Maine for it or whatever.
Yep.
And the location, it's, depending on what kind of thing it is, but for most slashers, it's at night. Yep. It's always at nighttime.
Yeah, because daytime, but who wants to text somebody in the daytime?
No.
Some movies, yes.
But it worked because like some of the jump scares, like seeing Michael watching her go walk home from school or outside of school, like those are cool jump scares. Like things like, who this guy's stalking me or something's stalking. Right. Like she didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Right.
So like that makes sense, but it always happened day or night. So this, after setting location, they set a time which is day or night to me. Yeah. And then the cool part in the middle to me is the weapon of choice. So you find out usually
they all have something different, or if some are close to each other, but just different.
Yeah, we all know Michael uses a knife, or Jason usually uses a knife, but then they get kind of creative, exactly. They get creative and they want to know.
You got Freddy with the razor blade gloves, or not razor blade, but steak knife glove. You got Pinhead, who had his little sickle looking thing. You had the chainsaw from Leatherface. They all have their own choice of weapon. And
you see Jason a bunch of times used too, like axes.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what part.
Because they're always at camps, and there's camps and firewood and stuff. Yeah. They always, it portrays where like the story of like what's going on.
He used a weed whacker one time.
Yeah, the weed whacker. Remember? That's the second one, right?
Seventh one.
Seventh one. Yeah. I can't keep it up. Well, I actually watched one the other day and I totally forgot that happened. And when like they like hit him with a shovel and they just like find him knocked out dead, and like you see him at the end like just laying there in blood, and it's like.
One of the best Jason kills ever. There's two of them, my top two. Mm-hmm. The 10th one, he dips a woman, either a guy or girl's face in liquid nitrogen, and then smashes it on the table next to them.
I do remember that one. That one was cool.
That one, and then there was the one I believe it's the third one, maybe the fourth one. Some dude backs up to a tree. Jason takes a leather belt or whatever around a dude's face, and then just starts tightening it up and tightening it tighter, and so the dude's basically gets his face crushed in with this leather belt thing against a tree. And all you see is just blood just dripping out of his eyes.
I don't remember that.
That's fucking awesome. Like I said, it's like third or fourth one. I can't remember.
So, yeah. So the weapon of choice, always a big deal. Everybody always, it's kind of like a cornerstone for the killer, like what they use their weapon of choice. And then, so after that, I put in multiple characters. There's always multiple characters in this, right? For usually a slasher, I would say. There's always the main character, and then there's a bunch of side characters to go along with their story. And then to make the story interesting, the characters always split up,
Mm-hmm.
don't they? They always split
Pretty
up
much, yeah.
in the movie, and he starts picking them off one by one.
Right.
You know,
You just can't get them all at one time because you might jump them.
exactly. And then the main character's like, "Oh no, I'm next." Like they're always next. I'm the last one, or whatever, and they
Right.
do whatever they do to protect them, and then these other people still get killed.
Yeah.
Usually, I would say.
See, that's why I like the Alfred Hitchcock way of doing slasher films. He used to have this, I guess his trope, whatever it was, kill off the person you think, or everyone thinks who's the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think of a good example. I forgot what movie that was. I just watched. Oh, The Blob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you ever seen the newer Blob? It's 1988 or something like that, 86. The main character was a football jock. He was acting like Mr. Badass. He saved the girl early on, and like within 10, 15 minutes of the movie, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it throws you a giant curveball. You're like, okay, well, great, it's not going to be him. You know, I like the Hitchcockian way of that.
I got that. I got that as one of my points coming up.
Good. Sorry.
So no, that's good. No, I'm glad that's how you're supposed to think as a horror fan. Like those kind of stuff that comes up. After the characters split up, I put like stranded or like standard signals. Like there's always like something in there that kind of points
Stops them from pursuing or
exactly pursuing and stuff, and then it goes right into like a jump scare, like that always like some type of scary thing that happens with friends or family or something that's out of nowhere, just like a random jump scare. It makes you think that something's going to happen when it usually doesn't. Then after that comes what you were just talking about. I call it illogical thinking. Like something that you just don't see coming happening, like some person dying or something coming up that just like throws you a curveball, and you're like, what the fuck? Like I didn't see that coming.
Right.
Which keeps you interested and keeps you thinking. It keeps you on your feet. I like that for the horror film.
Definitely,
right? I feel like that's what makes a good horror film if you have that kind of stuff, and that the curveballs are a big deal. I would say, because if you just make it, because every horror story, it's like it's like any classic hero trope. Some poor kid or something happens and he gets these superpowers and then he does this and whatever, and it's kind of like you already understand the storyline, the backstory for most of them. It's the same thing with horror stories, but if you throw in those curveballs and that stuff, it makes it more interesting and makes it unique.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way.
There you go.
Then after logical thinking, I put the killer restricts. So I guess, or the way I kind of thought about it was, he doesn't really kill, but he's kind of like stalking at that point, and then
he's investigating.
He's investigating, or like he goes out and like he's trying to kill. It's usually right at the end, like right when he's about to kill the main girl or whatever. Yeah. And he ends up getting killed or gets away or whatever. And then there's always a final girl survivor. Yeah. In most of these movies that keep the franchise going, right? Right. And then there's the killer ending, like what ended up happening. Did he get away? Did he die? Did they chop off Michael Myers' head and he actually replaced it and it was a fucking, was actually somebody in the ambulance? Yeah. So it's like things like that. So like to me, that's like a good winning formula for a horror story, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. A lot of those are really great points. I love like the like you're saying, the the curveballs. Mm-hmm. You have to keep the people. You got to keep the audience hooked in. Mm-hmm. If you're just gonna kill people left and right, that's it. What's the point of that? Mm-hmm. Make it so like there's two of them that you didn't even know about, like Scream. You didn't know there's two killers in a lot of those, except for towards the end. Then you got the. You still on my phone?
Still on your phone. No, Lincoln was playing with it. Make sure everything was okay.
That's good. You got to keep people hooked in there because you got to put the butts in the seats. That's all there is to it. You have to have the good guy, the bad guy. You have to have the, like you said, the jock, the dumb blonde, stuff like that. You have to have those in all kinds of horror movies, not just slasher, because that's what keeps the movie going.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, also they throw in things that, like, how do I say it? Kind of like The Hills Have Eyes.
Uh-huh.
You have these. You see how these people are, and then after they start kidnapping people or even raping some of them, it's just like, whoa, this is kind of makes kind of people more edgy and not more scared or whatever. Or even some people jump out on their seat and go, that shit's fucked up, or just say, kick that motherfucker. Mm-hmm. It's like a emotion. It's like watching a hockey game in a way. If you think about it, because you're watching the team do their thing. they watch they do the thing, and then if they fuck up or something like that, you're yelling at the TV. That's what kind of like horror movies are the same way.
Yep.
You're yelling at the TV or even the movie screen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's more some people more than others, but
Yeah. So those are my thing. I had like 13 of them that makes a good slasher. Those are the way I look at the slasher film.
Yeah.
I feel like they all getting broke down. And obviously, I'm basing this off of 80s and 90s films.
Yeah.
I'm not basing off the newer slashers or stuff like that because I think the winning formula was built in the early 80s and 90s, which has built all these, the foundation of good horror slasher films. Not the newer ones because the newer ones are all going off the winning formula that was already created. So you could say in hindsight, this is what they've been using forever, and it's true because it's what people like. It's what kept people going back and seeing these things. Because I don't think people realize that, without Halloween coming out, there wouldn't be a Jason. There probably wouldn't be a Freddy. There wouldn't be a Chucky. Like these things. You can say Chucky's a slasher too because he got a knife, right?
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't think that, but to me, that's what he is, right?
Yeah.
What was his name in the movie? What the ghost in the doll?
To what?
What's his name again? Chucky, I always forget.
Charles Lee Ray.
Charles Lee Ray, yeah.
Yeah, Charles Manson.
Yeah.
What's his name? Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
And Ray. I forgot who Ray was now.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We know what was based
Charles
off.
Lee Ray. No,
Yeah, Charles Lee Ray.
that was him.
So that's what makes a good horror slasher. I think most people would agree. I mean, there's some points probably I missed or things I've missed because obviously I'm not a Hollywood script writer or whatever. That to me was a winning formula that always makes a good horror slasher film for me.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of those. A lot of those, you could elaborate a little more. I could. But yeah, a lot of those are very good points because that's what the winning formula is.
Mm-hmm. To me, the big things are always it's the intro stuff. There's a killer. You got to get his backstory, a little bit of lore, what's going on, and then the setting and location always kind of sets up everything to me. And then obviously it's always usually knife, and some of them are in day, but not like newer ones are kind of mixed, like in Scream.
Right. One thing I do want to bring up, add to your list is you have to. There's Hollywood, especially now, cannot introduce a new horror character, a new slasher or psychopath, whatever, because they don't have anything established. It's like going in cold. It's like first time you played hockey, immediately you get to play for the Blues. It ain't gonna happen.
Right.
I'm not saying nothing taken away from any of the skill you have. It's just because nobody knows you and stuff like that.
That's true.
And it's like career suicide if they do something like that. Like first time I heard Leprechaun, there's a Leprechaun movie. I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna make a stupid leprechaun evil? And then after 7 movies, I'm like, I guess that's how you do it. Stuff like that. That's why I loved about the 80s and some of the 90s. They introduce new characters, but they knew how to introduce them.
Well, I think this is going to go into my new point and my other topic of the show. But like I said, there has to be original ideas. In horror, it has to be original because everything's been done. It's pretty much been done. You can say that with other movies too, but there's so many good movies and original ideas and indie stuff out there. I'm sure there is with gore and Halloween stuff too. Just we don't hear about it because they won't take a risk on it, like you're saying.
Right.
There's a lot less money that's usually made in horror, and the winning formula is if you can do a low budget film and make a fucking shit ton of money, then you're a winning.
Like
Halloween or
that's how they all started out.
Saw or whatever the fuck, with Paranormal Activity we've talked about, low budget film, Blair Witch Project, shit like that. You make something like that, but then you make a franchise out of it. They tried, but they failed.
Sometimes they failed.
Yeah, the second movie was just, God, I cannot believe they made that movie. They just left it at 1 because the 1 made it so intriguing to people. So many people thought it was a real story, and they still kind of play it off as like, hey, this is a real story here, whatever, to sell people to come here to go look around for Blair Witch shit. But I'm gonna get into my next topic. So my next topic is that bleeds into this, and this is why this is the third topic was why 99% of mainstream movies now are garbage, right? And I'll get off to the first point we're talking about, and then we'll just say there is no original ideas.
Exactly.
Right. So the way I look at it is there's so many probably books out there or good new upcoming directors and people that have good story writers, screenwriters, whatever they call them in Hollywood. They don't let these guys get through because they're not part of the good old boys club, we'll call it, or whatever, right? In Hollywood, they're not in that crowd, that inner circle, because it's all politics and it's all about who you know there. And they won't take chances on that. They want to take a chance on something they know because they're more
well established.
Right, they're more businessmen. You know, they're
Right.
more looking for studio films than they are indie films because indie films don't make the money that they want the $1 billion movie when not every movie is going to make $1 billion. They should be worrying more about pleasing fans, getting fans hooked on something, and then making it more of a studio
Right.
type film. Right, in my opinion. So the way I look at it is they don't. I guess I can just put it on that. They just don't make movies off original ideas as much as they do. And you know, it's funny because when they do it right, man, they blow up. It's like it's like Harry Potter.
Because that's what people want is the original ideas.
Right. You know, it's like I'll use Harry Potter as an example. It's original idea. That's why it's the most selling book of all time, and that's probably still one of the most watched movies of all time for kids and people of all ages. Even though you don't have to like Harry Potter or whatever, you can understand and appreciate why people enjoy it because it's never been done before.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
I think that's what kind of is wrong with the movie industry right now. There's no original ideas. And I can't be the only one person that wants new content. Like
Right.
we all want
Shit.
new content. I've been talking about this for 5-6 years on my other podcasts and this one that me and you just talking in general. Every time we talk, I think we bring it up a little bit. It's like, man, we saw this movie and then we thought it was gonna be really good, and it's like they recycled a lot of garbage that you see in every movie. It's like it's a lot of recycled content. And it's like, well, that's not what I'm asking for. And who's asking for this, right? It's like
Right.
I don't think really big fans or anybody's asking this crap. So to me, it just pushes people away more from movies. That's why I was saying in my last podcast with Tim was TV shows have kind of become the new original idea. You know, why people getting so invested, you know, and they actually can, I think you said it, was like, I can't sit down and watch a movie for 3 hours, but I can sit down and watch, you know, a TV series for 5 episodes for 5 hours. And it's like, why is that? Because it's original idea and they keep you hooked the entire time, right?
Exactly.
Every time. From beginning to the end, right at the end, they're like, oh, something happens. You got to watch the next episode because now you know what the fuck happens, right?
Exactly.
And that's what made good TV shows even back in the day. It's like this happened and you can't have to wait till next Sunday and all you do is speculate. That keeps me excited. I like that still with shows, especially if they're a good show. If it's okay show, then I'm okay with binging it. But I kind of went back to the point where I don't even really like binging shows as much anymore.
Yeah, they're
because the show's over with and you're like, fuck, what am I gonna watch now?
yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like not
I have nothing to speculate on. All the stuff's out there, you know. But when it's week to week, you got the whole week for the build up of what's going on. So it ebbs and flows. It depends on the show for me, obviously. So no original ideas is why I think most mainstream movies are garbage. I think the other problem is with a lot of stuff that's going on is how expensive the movies are.
Yeah,
right? Because they've went up in price because obviously there's less people going. The streaming wars, we'll talk about. You can use that inside joke with South Park, but streaming wars obviously is a big thing. Everybody's got their own streaming platform now, so a lot of people are not wanting to go in the movies because, like you said last time, like you go to a movie, you get the tickets. It's about $25-$30 for 2 people.
Just for tickets.
You know, popcorn, soda, and maybe a thing of candy before you're going. You're spending between $50 to $75 to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Then you get to the movie, and this is all part of why I think this is garbage, right? This is just me spitballing about it. You get to the movie, and we get to the part where we talked about where the marketing was so good for the movie. You get there, and the movie's so disappointing because the marketing was just so good, and they let you down in the movie. So it's deceiving, and you got your hopes up and the hype built up for it. So it comes down to the marketing's better than the product. You know, the way I'll look at it, the way I could say it is that's, to me, what really causes a lot of problems with movies nowadays. The marketing's better than the product.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a movie off the top of my head that was like that recently, but I'll say Jurassic Park. This one's all Jurassic Park. Okay, right? They sold it nostalgia with the original characters in there, which they're actually this time their entire movie. I still like the movie for what it was, a popcorn flick to me. It got my butt in the seat seeing it. It was a little too long, but the marketing was better than the product. It didn't really have a lot of dinosaurs. This is all spoilers, so if you guys, I'm not going to give the whole movie, but
I haven't seen it.
so yeah, you haven't seen it, but it's like they did less stuff with dinosaurs than I thought they were going to do. But yeah, and so again, you're watching the trailer, you're like, wow, this looks so good, whatever. I can't wait to see this. Like me and my wife, she never wants to go to theaters anymore, and she's like, I can't wait to see this, and she likes Jurassic Park. I mean, we grew up with the original Jurassic Park.
Right.
The one good thing I could say about this at the end is now that they did this movie, I think they're done. Jurassic Park ain't coming back after this.
Supposedly this is the last one of everything.
Please, thank you, Lord. Like, don't ruin it anymore because I grew up with it as a kid, and the first one was my Dude, it was so good when it first came out.
We just watched the first one again not too long ago. Of course, we're making fun of it the whole time at the same time. It's like we can enjoy this movie because this was like top of the tier kind of thing back in the day.
It was quality. It was a quality made film. They actually put some time and effort into it, right?
Yeah. It's just they dragged out the story too fucking long. You didn't need six sequels or 5 sequels to it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like let it go, man.
Exactly. Something we brought up earlier, and I'm just going to rehash again, is the 90s had probably abundant of quality movies, in my opinion.
Yes.
80s and 90s, really between there, but usually the 90s is where I go for. If you grew up in the 90s, or even as a kid in the 90s, you were very spoiled with a lot of good movies. So I think my standards for a good movie were always based on 80s, 90s. Same thing with music. I think that's just where I get that from.
Yes.
I think that's where a lot of people get that from, because if you look back at some of the films, they're all dated, you know, but they're in the 90s. They all hold up to this time. They're like, man, this was really well made for its time, right? So I think that's where I get a little bit of the bias towards it, but I think a lot of people would agree to that, because if you name a lot of the films in the 90s, and there's probably hundreds of them, most of them are really good, you know? I'm not saying every movie made in the 90s was good, but a lot of them were. You can tell they just put a lot more effort. And obviously, you know why it was? Because it's their original ideas.
Exactly.
You know, it hasn't been done before.
Exactly.
Right? You know, instead of just rebooting or redoing the movie, this is why we're at with movies right now, and why they're kind of like in the downhill and dying. Movie theaters kind of dying as well, but
because you got to think movies in the 60s and 70s they were pretty original because there was nobody else doing some of that stuff. 80s and 90s kind of like just set the bar so high because a lot of movies that they did, even the directors, you know, some of them went out of their own wheelhouse and made the movies that they made. I mean, look at Clerks. Clerks was a funny as hell movie. You know, a lot of dick and fart jokes and stuff like that, and necrophilia, what have you. But originally it wasn't, because remember the original ending was supposed to be Dante, spoiler alert, Dante gets killed at the end. Mm-hmm. You know, if you see a movie that was just like that, and then you see him get shot at the end, you're like, wow, this is, why did this happen? That kind of thing. Then you got Kevin Smith doing a movie about Mallrats, you know, which they call the Porky's of the 90s, which is true, because Porky's was very similar, more tits, less tits, whatever. But... You know, and then you do something like Jersey Girl. It's just totally against everything that he was doing.
That's right.
But that's what directors did. They weren't the same. John Hughes, I love John Hughes. Him doing The Breakfast Club, and then you had Weird Science. You had the same kids in all your movies. 60 Candles. You had the same kids from all your movies, in the same, like almost the same kind of situation. You know, it's just like I said, I love those Brat Pack movies with Anthony Michael Hall and. Molly Ringwald and all them and stuff, but it's just at the same time, it's just like, John Hughes, do you have any other kind of formula out of in you? You know,
that was a winning formula in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah,
you know,
even when he did Christmas Vacation, you know, people totally forgot that was a John Hughes movie, but it's the same kind of setting, because you got the family setting instead of the boy trying to get the girl or get her underwear or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, like that, and that's what's great about that. And again. It all had the same humor, basically. It's like the View Askew universe for Kevin Smith. You have to watch some of the movies to get a lot of the jokes, but once you do, it's like you're a part of his world, because you get the 37 joke, you get the, you know, don't suck any dick kind of thing throughout his movies. When you watch all his movies, you see the number 37 just on like a random street sign or something like that. You're like, Kevin Smith. That's what kind of hooked you. And even if you see in the real world, you see a hockey player or somebody wearing number 37, you're like, Kevin Smith. You know, whatever. It's just, that's what I think is fucking awesome, is that if you can watch so many movies and just see their art come to life, you know, so to say. And that's
a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I you know, I've done that plenty of times with not just Kevin Smith's movies, but South Park, you know, Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, same thing. Like you can relate it back to it. If you can relate to it, then it makes it more true and funny, and it becomes like an inside joke. Yeah. Like I know me and you and even my sister.
The universe that you were in.
Yeah, the little universe that we're in. We have like inside jokes with stuff, and we say things, and only we get it, you know. But at the same time, it's like out in public. Even my sister says when she's not around and she sees things or says things, it keeps her like engaged with that kind of stuff. Like same thing with me. Like I'll see stuff at work or something, and automatically it's like, boom.
Yep.
That reminded me of Clerks, or Kevin Smith. That
Yep.
boom, that reminded me of South Park.
Yep.
As an example, and should I do that with South Park all the fucking time?
Yeah,
because they make fun of everything and do everything. But it really, it's funny because me and some of my friends at work like, man, you relate stuff a lot back to South Park, but it's so fucking funny because all of it's usually true.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. You know, because it's their humor.
Right.
They know how to grasp people's attention, and they know how to what is attractive at the moment. That's going to be funny, and relevant to people in their lives. So
even if it's like somebody's name, like whenever I was at the radio station. We had a student named Dante. Immediately, I was like, "Hey, you supposed to be here today?"
Yeah.
And he just like froze, like, "What? What do you mean?" I go, "Never mind."
Yeah.
It's just like you throw little tidbits out there. You throw like a little hook or a little fishing line out. See who people will get it. And it's hilarious when people do it because then you can go back and forth. Kind of like Kevin Smith makes fun of when he does the Elias one ring to rule them all. And he's got the nerd that answers them.
Yeah.
It's fun to do when people get onto that universe with you.
Yeah. No, it's funny because that holds true. And even when I was in college, my old professor, Rich, I'm not going to say his last name on here, but I still talk to him, and he would say some funny, like, lines from movies or whatever. And like I don't know if I ever told you this, but in my other podcast I did. He looked like the guy, the Beavis and Butthead's teacher, and at the end of the school year.
Commander Reason?
Yes.
That's the hippie?
Yeah, the hippie. At the end of the year, I put a picture of him in the classroom, whatever, and I printed it out, a huge picture of it, and I stuck it right next to his class. I said, "You'll always remember me because of this." After I graduated, I put it there. Because I used to tell him, like, "Dude, you look like the guy off Beavis and Butthead." The first day I was there. Yeah. So we used to, like, make funny quotes and do stuff in class. And he embraced it. He thought it was funny. And then, like, he put over our dot matrix printer the picture of them beating the shit out of the printer from Office Space, and they took it out, like going away present when they got fired. Yeah. That was a going away graduation present for us because we all hated the thing. So he's like, "You get to beat it up the last day." And I was like, "Dude, what a fucking cool teacher, right? Do something like that." And he thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Because we had so many goddamn problems. We would sit there and be like, "Come on, you little fucker. Like, work." What we're doing.
Even like they said, like little things like that. Like my avatar on my work email is Cartman. It's been Cartman. Whenever people come in, or whenever my sign on my office door had a picture of Cartman. So when people are like that, you are so Cartman. You are him. You're the 30, 40-year-old version of Cartman. I can see that. See.
Which is fine. I don't know if it brings you an identity with certain people or whatever, but it brings you happiness at the end of the day, right? And I think that's why people love Kevin Smith's world. We can talk about that. I think we're going to say that from our podcast. We're going to do a whole episode on Kevin Smith's world of stuff, but that's why there's so much camaraderie and there's so many people that get engaged with it. You can even see it on social media. Like you look at Jay Mew's page or Kevin Smith's page and you like read some of the stuff on there. There's always a pun. There's always a joke from there. Someone always saying something about either Snoogans or Snoochie Boochies or whatever. And if you say that in public, most people are like, the fuck are you talking about, right? But exactly. But if you hear someone say it, they'll understand and they might reply back to you and you're like, cool, like an unofficial like head nod, like, hey man, I got that. That was funny.
Exactly. And that's why, like you said with South Park, even like the Simpsons, because they've been around forever.
Or Simpsons, yeah, that's great.
Little stuff like that, people just bring up, and it's just like, hey, I feel you, brother.
And it's more that we do that, but then also other people do it with more like mainstream films, like like Step Brothers or like Elf or something like that. Yeah. They'll say a line, and everyone's like, "Oh, I remember that famous line, or whatever," and it's like cool, but it's like, I like those ones, but I like the ones that are more in like a smaller universe, then it's more mainstream. I like the more underground stuff.
Yeah, you like the little guy, but you want the big guy to quote them, to say, hey, little nod to them. Yeah, kind of thing. I think which I don't know what we watched recently. You probably remember. They did the dude part from Basketball. Dude.
Oh yeah, well, who did that?
Some new Marvel movie, I think. Might have been Spider-Man. I don't remember, but somebody did it, and it's like, dude, that's fucking South Park. Right? That's fucking Basketball. And Jen's just looking at me like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you got it.
Little things like that. It's just like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
Most people probably would never catch that nor rehash it, but people that have seen it, like you're saying, I get that.
Or even like Captain Marvel, when Stan Lee's on the bus, he's reading a Mallrats script. People are like, what the fuck is Mallrats? Like, it's one of his movies, people. It's one of the first movies he cameoed in. I think about the second one. I don't remember.
That was in Spider-Man, or which movie was that in?
That was Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, when he's sitting in the train or whatever? Yeah.
He's sitting there looking at
I got that right away.
Yeah. I was just like, when I saw it, I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's like little no nods like that, like you said. The big guy nodding to the little guy, saying, "Thanks, bud. You made our a little part in our movie funny."
Exactly.
Or you like Kevin Smith, he kind of praised Captain Marvel director. I forgot which one did it. He's like, I'm actually cemented now in the Marvel universe because because it showed Mallrats. Or at the end of the movie, they showed the behind the scenes stuff.
Well, you know what's funny too to talk about that too, and I think I brought up in another podcast with us was, you know, I like the show Entourage. Me and my wife watch it all the time. Whenever there's background noise, but a lot of times in the show they bring up Kevin Smith's name. He's like, "Oh, he's the director. It's a great indie film coming out." He's like, "Kevin Smith." He's like, fuck you," you know, because like back then Kevin Smith was an indie house name, and people were like, "That's not kind of movie I want to do," because he was a big name A-list actor, and he's like, "I'm not doing a shitty indie film." It was kind of like making a joke of making fun of Kevin Smith, but now
it's probably Affleck who had a joke.
Yeah, and it's like
now he's a big guy. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, now that guy, not Kevin Smith's not a B-list. You know, maybe
he's a household name now.
He's a household name, exactly. People know who he is. Obviously, he's got his own universe, but people still respect him because obviously he's getting a lot of shows and doing a lot of things now.
You know the name.
You know the name.
That's what it is. It's the branding. It's like we talked about earlier. It's the name. It's the marketing. How he markets himself.
Yeah, I think after his heart, like we talked about many times, after his heart attack, something happened. He had an epiphany or whatever, and he's went out and doubled down on it, and he's just made himself that much bigger. You know.
Yeah. He has his own CBD company now.
I think a lot of people. Fans got behind him because they're afraid they're about to lose someone really important in the film industry, and people really liked what it was.
He's more of, for me, I know this we're supposed to talk about this in another podcast. For me, anyhow, it's more of an inspiration. It's like the dude thought he was going to die, so he's going to do everything he can not to die.
And leave his name out there.
And put his name out there. Like he said that, you know, he didn't want to be known for the Yoga Hosers being the last movie he made. That's why he hurried up and made Clerks 3. You know, stuff like that. It's just, you want to... Like, it's been said for years that people want to die a name. Basically, like, if you died tomorrow, no one's going to get two shits unless you do something spectacular. You got to make a name for yourself somewhere, so you don't have to necessarily be a household name, just be a name. Like, you'd be like, oh, Randy Van, oh, he was the guy that was brand new. He was the guy that saved 5 children from a burning fire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Or even people talk about that story. They don't necessarily have to get your name right. Like the guy that saved kids from the fire. Who was that? And immediately they can Google it and your name pops up. You know, that's a lot of people want that. That is, for me, that's the American dream, is to be known for something. I don't want to be just Joe Schmo who lives 40, 50, 60 years and nothing ever happened spectacular in his life. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that, you know, has got, even if it's a disease named after me, I don't give a fuck. I want to be a name somewhere be recognized for something. I don't care what the fuck it is. I know a lot of it's stuff nowadays, a lot of bad stuff going on, school shootings and stuff like that. Some kids are known for that now, but you know, I just want to be a name for something. And
I don't want to be named for that.
Yeah, not that for sure.
But I want to be. I know you're saying you want your name to live on forever.
Yeah,
kind of
somehow.
Thing, you know,
I don't care what. Like you said, I don't care if it's a disease or something like that. But
I mean, if I was going to do that, I would just do what that doctor did, and he just started replacing everybody's jizz at the hospital jizz, and so his seed.
They had like 50 kids.
He had like 50 kids, and they found out and arrested him. And they asked him why. He's like,
why not?
Now my name and bloodline can live on forever. And it's like, dude, you're a fucking crazy motherfucker. For one, and two, it's like no one's ever going to remember your name for this or do anything. It's like that's
a crazy doctor.
It's like you're not gonna have some guy complex. Like you're not some guy back in the 1800s trying to live on his bloodline to everybody.
You're not Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got off.
No, you're good. This is the kind of stuff that makes this podcast interesting. Is going on the tangents, but so go back to why I think a lot of these films are mainstream are so garbage. Is here's another thing, and I brought this up before, but I'm gonna bring it up again because I think this really does hold a lot of weight with films nowadays. Is too many films today have agendas with politics, and they're too preachy about it.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, you're doing a disservice and discrediting, and you're kind of alienating your fan base, especially if it's a movie or a show that people are really invested into. Even it's Marvel or whatever. I'm just going to use that as an example because it's got such a huge fan base. When you, like I was saying, when you shoehorn stuff in or put stuff in there that people know that you put in there that doesn't have has no reason to be in the movie. Relevance, exactly. It pisses people off, and actually kind of makes people get deterred or not want to be part of the franchise anymore. They're like, I'm not going to watch this anymore. Like, it really just takes them out of the movie, right?
Exactly.
And that's not what people go to the movie theaters for. I've said it plenty of times before, but it's like we go there for escapism, and you get lost in these worlds and actually enjoy something and speculate on things. And like, people don't want to go there and see the same garbage they're seeing on TV or what they read in their phone or what they see at work or whatever it is, right? Everybody needs a little escapism. So that, to me, is one of the bigger problems in Hollywood too. It's like
keep your politics to yourself.
Keep politics to yourself. If you want to do the stuff with sex, gender, people's backgrounds, and stuff, then just make them original characters. Then that's fine. Don't shoehorn in shit because it's a checkbox now and you have to check these boxes. Because I know, even in the 70s and 80s, I listened to this guy talk about it that was a big producer and director, and he said they had checkboxes back then, but the list was really small.
Right. Now it's huge.
Now it's huge. And they used to have diversity back in the day. Obviously, people are like, not as much as they used to now, whatever, because what's going on. Yeah. But you understand the reason they do more diversity now is because they're not doing it for just America. They're doing it for China and all the other places that these movies go. So they have representation, so they don't look like they're bigots and racists and all this other bullshit. When the reality is, when they used to make films just like American film or whatever, and sold it off original idea, people that watched movies, they didn't care about that stuff. They weren't looking for it. Like, it would just go globally, and it would just sell everywhere because people enjoyed the movie because they could like relate to the characters.
Right.
That's the best way I could really put it is when I'm watching a movie and they're not gender swapping someone with a man to a woman because that's what they do now for identity politics or whatever they're doing in movies. If they just make it original character, I can see myself as the woman or from her point of view or what's going on, instead of me just thinking the whole time like, why are we watching Terminator with a woman when it's always been like Arnold and a dude?
Right.
Why not make a new type of robot AI movie with a original character that's a woman, and I can get lost in that and deep into the lore and stuff. It's like, that's where I want to go, where they need to go with movies to me, right? I don't care about women that are lead roles or men. I don't care. As long as they're a good actor and it's original idea, I don't give a fuck who it is. You could put a fucking, like you were saying, a leprechaun in there. As long as it's good, I'll probably be invested and I'll probably enjoy it. That's where I see why there's a lot of problems with Hollywood right now. And I'm sure you can talk to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. It just doesn't happen in one movie genre. It's happening in all movie genres now.
I mean, the biggest one that really that popped in my head the second you said this was Halloween Kills. Mm-hmm. Big John, Little John. You have two gay guys in the movie. I have no problem with that. But that's that part that they were in. More people stuck with that because they never touched on gay people in horror movies very much. They did a little bit. There was one gay character here and there, something like that, but not a couple. And then people would attack the guys who did Halloween Kills because they killed off the gay people. But really, if they're not really, they got their blinders on. They don't realize that it doesn't matter who it is. Michael will kill you. It doesn't matter. They killed the little boy in the beginning. When they get when Halloween, the newer Halloween came out, they killed the little boy in the pickup truck.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. He kills animals. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not trying to kill gay people just to kill gay people. It's just because they were in his fucking way. And that's what is pissing people off is like they see one part of a movie and they're already turned off by it.
Well, see, that's the problem we have in the society nowadays. Everybody gets, what we talking about, they get offended over everything, or they see one thing and they nitpick something and make that, they make everything more just about something that's not even about the movie. Like,
exactly, some little part like that.
Right, they could like shoehorn and be like, oh, this is a problem. This is like a Me Too movement problem. It's like, this has nothing to do with the Harvey Weinstein or people getting raped. This is just something to do with the movie, and that was just part of the character plot, which I get. I'm not trying to be insensitive to anything. I'm just trying to make that as a point. Like, not everything should have a point or a cause in the movie, unless it's really
unless Michael Myers flat out said, "I hate gay people."
Right.
Then it's you shouldn't read it as that. And that's not just horror movies. I mean, a lot of the, I believe Miss Marvel is a lesbian, I think, or she's bi. I can't remember. But they're starting to do that incorporate more LGBTQ plus whatever. I think that's right. Yeah, people into movies, which is fine. That's great. But it's just like, if something happens to one of those people in the movie, don't make it a hate crime. If you have a girl that wants to be a boy, that's just fine. She wants to be trans or whatever the thing for it is. If she breaks up with a boyfriend or her girlfriend at the time, don't say, "Oh, it's attack against that that gender because they don't like that or whatever." No, it's not. It's just because they broke up. Quit. Don't read too much into it. If you do, you're just gonna piss yourself off, piss a lot of other people off, and it's just gonna be turned into a big giant disappointment. It's just it's stupid. Yes, I understand the Hollywood formula is, everybody's main character's got to be straight and they got to be masculine and this and that. But if you think about it, if you go back to some of the actors back in the 60s, 40s, 50s, whatever, a lot of them were gay. It's just Hollywood covered it up. Rock Hudson is a perfect example. They faked a marriage, or they made him get married so it would make it look like he was living with a woman. Mm-hmm. And really, he came out one day and said he's gay, and he got chastised and blacklisted from Hollywood.
Right.
It's if you let things be known and you just just let things happen. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
Yeah, it's like going back to your original point in Halloween. I don't think I ever watched a movie and thought they're trying to kill off gay people. Like, I just thought there were two characters in the movie and they're gay, and they like putting that in there because that's a shoehorn thing they want to do for it to be. It's a checkbox, we can call it. And whatever, the characters were fine. I thought they were original. I thought they were organic in the film. It had nothing to do with that. And he slipped in and killed them both because that was their old fucking house.
Right.
Right. And what does he always do in Halloween? Well, he always goes back to his goddamn house.
Exactly.
Right. And these guys are big horror fans. So didn't matter if they're gay or what, he was going to kill these fucking guys. It didn't matter who there was. There could have been an alien and they're fucking, a predator, and he was going to kill both of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's why he went after Laurie's daughter. Come on.
Exactly.
She was in the fucking way.
She was in the way, like in the window or whatever was going on. It's all this crap that people want to find in these movies and point out.
They want to nitpick. They want to micromanage.
Well, I'll relate to this and I'll shut the fuck up about it and stop, with my rant and my
ravings.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happens in comedy nowadays, right? People go to comedy shows and they get offended over one little thing that some comedy says. Obviously, it's a comedy show. There is no line in comedy. There should be no line. It should be.
Yeah.
It's always been there's no line. Everything is untouchable. It's the same thing with South Park, or in the shows we watched in the past, Beavis and Butthead or whatever. There was always no line. Everybody was open, fair game, right? Yeah. The same thing in these movies where we're watching like Halloween or something. There should be no line in the sand. Like, he's a killer. He can kill anybody he wants to do. So my point is, if you're watching these movies to get offended and nitpick these things,
don't fucking watch.
Don't watch or
keep it to yourself.
Well, not just keep it to yourself. What are you doing what are you doing getting this upset over something? Like, it shouldn't bother you that much. Like, 'cause it's not real. It's fictional. Or nonfiction or whatever. It has nothing to do with real life stuff. It's just supposed to be escapism in a movie. Like, not everything has to have like a symbolism for something in the real world with gays or trans or straight white males or whoever. There doesn't need to be representation, and doesn't have to be like some evil agenda behind it. That's what I'll say. There's no evil agenda behind it.
There's no hidden behind it. Just a hidden agenda.
There's no
just things happen. It's just that because they happen in the movie.
Exactly. I'm sick of these people nowadays, because I'm just gonna go off on a tangent. Still, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna shut the fuck up. It bothers me because there's always something that's wrong.
That bothers somebody.
Yeah, with somebody, either in a video game or a movie, or somebody wrote a lyric in a fucking song, or the way somebody
lyrics from songs that years ago, they're like, oh God, he meant that.
Yeah, what, cool. Like, we live in a world with freedom of speech. Obviously, doesn't mean there's freedom from consequences. We all know that. Like, you can be a dumbass, say dumb things, and things are gonna happen to you. But at the end of the day, not everything has like
silver lining.
Yeah, like silver lining, exactly.
Everything's all rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, I don't like that we live in this pussy mentality world nowadays, right? Like, we grew up, it's just like people look for things to get offended about. They look for things that aren't there. They make up things that aren't there, and it happens at work. It happens in schools. It happens all the time. The internet, whatever it is. It happens all day long, and it's like, when do people have this much time to start getting this upset about things? Have we always been this upset about things? Now we're just more vocal because of social media and things are out there and there's more outlets? Maybe. It probably opened the door for more people to be this way and be a Karen, we'll call them. No relevance to Rainey Marsh, but to me, it's like, I just try to enjoy things for what they are, and if there's something in there I don't like, well, you know what? I don't try to let it ruin my day or bother me that much that I need to go start a movement online about 2 gay guys getting killed in Halloween, or the black guy got slashed at the beginning of the film, so that automatically means you're racist. And it's like, what? Like, where does this come from? Like, who digs this shit up and makes it up, right? Unless they're swinging a Nazi flag around and they're trying to fucking kill Jewish people, then maybe.
And it's a real movie.
And it's a real movie.
Real life.
Yeah, then maybe there's some. You have a real reason to be upset, but for the most part, like that doesn't happen in film. You know.
Exactly.
There's no like you said, there's no silver line. There's no hidden agenda in these movies. It's just supposed to be part of the movie and what it is.
Right. It's a continuation of the story. They had to throw something in there.
Exactly. So I think I had a little bit more about the agenda thing. Is actually I already kind of touched on it, but I think the reason I don't like it, and someone made this point, and I listened to him talk about it on a podcast, was it's laziness for successful franchises. Right? They already have a winning formula. They already have a huge fan base, right? We'll call it Marvel, for example, because I can use it for pretty much any example. And when they gender swap a character or whatever they do, if it's not an original idea and it has nothing to do with the actual the origins or the lore of the story or whoever it is, to me it's laziness, and it's pandering and checking a box. And I'll say again, the fans see right through it, and they're like, what? Why is this happening?
Why is Thanos a woman?
Why is Thanos a woman? Whatever. Or why is Doctor Strange now a woman or something like that? And it's like, can we just make a new Doctor Strange character?
It's called Miss Marvel because it's Miss.
Yeah, like it's not Mr. Marvel, right? You know what I'm saying? And if you want to make a Mr. Marvel character,
that's right. It's an original idea, maybe.
Don't make him the same character. That's what I'm saying. Like
make its own movie, make its own franchise. Leave it. Don't put it in someone else's movie already.
Right, like with Lady Thor coming out, that was already part of the comics, and so was She-Hulk and stuff. So this is stuff that's already been written, but they just didn't just automatically one day say, "I'm gonna replace Bruce Banner with."
She-Hulk out of nowhere. Bruce Banner dies. Here comes She-Hulk. Whoa. I thought this was a Hulk movie.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. And it's like that kind of stuff it's just laziness and lazy writing. And they know they can get away with it because they're going to be like, oh, we have a fan base for this. But really what they're doing is alienating the 99% of the fans that really were there for this. Right. And they're doing it for the 1%. And 1%, they're not the ones who pay to go get the comic books or go do all the stuff that actually keeps your franchise going outside of the movies for the toys and all the other bullshit, and the fans that come.
Funkos.
Yeah, Funkos, exactly.
All the goddamn Funkos.
And to leave it off on this idea is the only thing I could think that was originally idea, and I spoke a little bit earlier, is why you want to know why anime is so popular nowadays, besides speaking kids and stuff and it appeals to them. The original ideas. Yep. It's something that's never been done before. It took me a long time to think about it, but my neighbor down the street, Tommy, he's really big into manga and anime and stuff like that. And he told me, he's like, why I like it so much is like, because everything's new. Every time it's a new anime or manga, it's like, it's a new story. It's not the same thing. I've never heard this one before. Like, it's new and it keeps me really, and that's why he likes reading the books, new and stuff. I'm like, wow, that makes a really good point. Why there's such a huge following. Like, when we were kids, anime wasn't that big. It was Dragon Ball Z and maybe a couple other things like Pokemon and a couple things.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Or Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever came out. But now it's massive, and it's not just with kids. It's with young adults, adolescents, and adults. So I think that's the reason why. And
it's the new comic book. It's the new superheroes.
Yeah, and cartoons. I think cartoons are still the same way. Cartoons have kind of died down as well too. They're not as much, but I'd say adult cartoons. Like, why do people like Adult Swim and things like that with those cartoons? Because they're all brand new original ideas.
Well, back in the day, I seen a documentary on me falling backwards.
Yeah,
I saw a documentary on Warner Brothers cartoons, Looney Tunes, and the reason Mel Blanc, the guy, one of the main characters who did like all the voices, Bugs Bunny, Porky, everybody, he said the cartoons were not made for children. They were made for adults, especially adults who are in the business world, who would need to come home and unwind and laugh. Same thing with soldiers. These were made for adults, and it's just in a way catered to children because the kids wanted to see, Wile E. Coyote get smashed with an anvil 50 times in one episode. That appealed to kids, and then that's what blew up, and that's why Looney Tunes, to me, not so much now because they've done everything that I think they've done, is that cartoons are always going to be around. It's just in some form. Like Beavis and Butthead is making a comeback. South Park is slowly coming back. Movies here and there.
I don't think they've ever died.
No, I don't think. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that they started slowing down after COVID because people weren't caring so much about it. Now, since they're coming out with episodes, people are interested again.
Yeah.
Same thing with Beavis and Butthead. The last time they had a real episode was probably like 2009 or 10 or something like that. You know, unless they had something here and there that I didn't know about. But you know, the movie just came out the other day on Paramount, and it's it's more a lot of cartoons nowadays. What I'm trying to say is more tailored to everybody. Like I'm not a Disney fan. I will watch a few here and there, like Pirates of the Caribbean or even some of the Marvel stuff, whatever. But I watched the new Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie. I used to watch the cartoon, and I was like, oh, maybe something like that. No, this movie's fucking funny as hell. You know, they have, like, Randy Marsh was in it for, like, a couple seconds. Butthead was running for senator. You know, all these other cartoon characters I grew up with, other than the Chip and Dale's kids. There was, you know, I don't think Bugs Bunny or anybody was like that was in it. But still, all these nostalgic characters were in there. And I'm like, this movie is not just for kids. This has a lot of adult humor to it. And I noticed that with like Shrek. Shrek has a lot of adult humor in it.
Yep.
It's just pretty much any kind of cartoon now can tailor to kids and to adults. And if you think about it, it's got to be that way because if kids like it, they're going to say, Mommy, buy me the toy, buy me the toy. Or you got the 30, 40-year-olds who buy all the fucking Funkos.
Well, I think after the Toy Story craze, if they saw with Pixar and Toy Story and how big it was, not with just kids, but all ages, and same thing with Harry Potter, how it appeals to everybody with all ages, that's the demographic you want to go for. Not just the children. If the children are excited about it, the parents have to be excited about it too and have to enjoy it as well, like Frozen or whatever that came out with the craze with it. Yeah. Disney does have a winning formula when it comes to that kind of stuff most of the time. Not all the time.
They know how to hit parents and kids.
Yeah, and that's what people want, and that's what builds, like, you know, franchise, and they sell it all. Like, that's what people go crazy for. It's like the organic stuff with, like, Ninja Turtles or, you know, Power Rangers, whatever. You know, even though the kids didn't like it, some parents would get involved in it, and it would blow up, and then, you know, before you know it, they're making billions of dollars off of something. So Disney knows what they're doing sometimes. And, you know, they've had some problems lately because they're trying to shoehorn politics now into little kids shows and, like for example, Lightyear. This came out. You heard about that, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Real quick, you know, Lincoln fucking loves Toy Story, right? And we wanted to go take them to see Lightyear, but they put in a scene where in a children's film, and you know what? I don't care if people get offended by this or not. And my son is 3 years old. He doesn't need to go watch two characters that are gay kiss in a little cartoon.
Oh,
right?
That's what happened.
That's what happened, and so it got banned in like 20 countries, and they're like, we're not showing this to kids or whatever. So what they end up doing, they end up taking the scene out because they've lost so much money off of it, right? And now it's like it kind of wrecked the Lightyear show because it's like they were supposed to make hundreds of millions of dollars and they didn't even get close to what they're supposed to be making right now. Now people are they alienated the people, the little kids and the parents. I agree. Do you want to put that stuff into something else when the kids are older, whatever, they're more like acceptable to it, like as adolescents, like, you know, 15, 16, 17, 18? Sure. Kids are like 3 and 4 that the show's going for. I don't want to see my kid watching two gay guys kiss or two girls kiss. They're just not ready for that, right? You know, and I don't care if people say, well, it should be normalized.
They think it's gross when you kiss your wife, you know.
Right, right. It's like, I don't care if it's supposed to be normalized. I don't have a problem with gay people. I have a problem with that showing that to my 3-year-old son. Yeah. That's it. That's all it is. It's not about people saying it's grooming or anything else. I just don't believe it belongs in a cartoon for, you know, for little kids. That's it.
Yeah. Well, if you think too, there's a new thing going around that I forgot exactly how many movies. Might be right before Endgame or the other one. There's a ton of movies that have not made it to China, like Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
Because they won't take out certain parts of the movie.
Correct.
You know, and even like Doctor Strange, they wanted them to take out 11 seconds of a certain part in Doctor Strange. I can't remember which one, just so it could be played overseas somewhere. I'm not sure exactly.
They did it,
and they did it because that's how they get. That's how they're going to make their money.
You know, in Star Wars with John Boyega, the black guy that played Finn or whatever in there. When the movie poster went to China, he was the main character in front of America. He was the little character all the way in the back. And they couldn't see Finn all the way back because you know why? Because China's racist and doesn't like black people.
Right.
And he spoke out about it, and Disney didn't give a fuck.
Right.
They're like, we don't care because guess what? We're trying to make this $1 billion film, and we're trying to make all this money, and we're appealing to China and their rules, what they want over there.
And they have a lot of people over there that want to see that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, they don't want, and they're very racist. I don't know if you saw the basketball film not too long ago, but there's some guys that showed up from like an NBA team or a basketball team or whatever, and when they got the bus, the black people were like just screaming the N-word at them. Just screaming at them, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And it was on Twitter. I'm like, "This happened in China, dude. they're the minority over there. Like, so it's like they have they can't do anything about it. They'll get killed over there by these people or whatever. It's, so.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, like, that's why Disney panders to it, and people know. They're not super. They look for all this stuff, and they see it all the time. They hear about the films and stuff they cut out. They'll cut out people, certain races and genders and certain stuff because China doesn't want to do it, or whatever country they're trying to appeal to. So, it does happen. Like I was saying before, the marketing is not just for America like it used to be movies. Now it's American. It's marketed towards every culture and diversity because that's what they think that everybody needs to see or wants to see. And it's like, again... If you just made an original idea where it was organic and everybody appreciated for what it was, like Harry Potter or something that was, all based, in the UK and London, and they had everything was just organic in there. Dude, it went around the world. No one just was like, I'm banning Harry Potter because there's a black person there or whatever. It's like, it had nothing to do with that. It was like people wanted to see the film for what it was and they could attach themselves to it. So going back to what you're saying with the Disney stuff, it's the same thing, dude. I like watching some Disney films because the same way. Even though I grew up watching some Disney stuff, like, people forget that Heavyweights was a fucking Disney film back in the day. And that was actually pretty funny, Nowadays, they would never do that because now they would say it's no body positivity or something because they're shaming fat kids for going to fat camp. They try to lose weight when really it was funny with Ben Stiller and what happened and with all the kids, like, sneaking in the food and doing stuff like normal kid shit. They're just being kids.
Right.
You wouldn't see that kind of movie day to day,
I don't know.
I still laugh and watch that movie. Ben Stiller was fucking a riot in that movie, and those kids were actually funny in the movie. Goldberg and whatever else was in there, whatever his name. He just got off drugs finally. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, I don't know. He was really bad at meth.
Oh wow.
That's why he'd never made an appearance like with the Mighty Ducks when they went in the film or whatever, or when the ice on the NHL. He never appeared on because dude, he was on drugs. Now he's off and he looks good again or whatever. So he got the help he needed.
That's good.
But so I guess that could, that can kind of wrap up that topic. Why anime and cartoons. But I do have another topic, but I want to get to your topic before I get to my last one.
It's gonna take a while.
That's fine. Go ahead.
What time are we on anyway?
Don't worry about it.
Okay. I'm just very curious.
We're at an hour and a half, so we're huh?
You're lying.
No, I'm not. We're at an hour and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Feels like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it does. But this is what happens when you're having fun.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So no one know your topic.
Oh, my topic.
Or you want to do mine real quick?
We can do yours real quick.
All right, so
way off what we're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, this kind of plays into what we're doing anyway, so it doesn't matter. I just came up with this in nostalgic shows you want to see back on TV, right? Yeah. So like, I can talk to a couple of them. They tried to redo Saved by the Bell, and it failed. I loved Saved by the Bell as a kid. I don't care if people liked it or not, whatever.
I never liked it.
I would liked it because it was something on the morning, and it was right before school, and I could relate to it because...
That's the deal right there. Is whenever it was on when I was in school, it was during the weekend. It was on Saturdays. It wasn't on the weekend, on school days.
Yeah, it was on school days. So they could watch it after school sometimes, and sometimes it'd be on the morning before school. Right.
See that
and dude, they even did it in high school. When I'm talking about, I graduated in 2005. So like between 2000 and 2005, every morning you could turn it on, it was on. So it was like sometimes like Eckert would come over and turn it on and be on my couch in the middle of the morning, like at 6 o'clock.
He liked that show?
He loved Saved by the Bell.
Wow.
He turned on, my wife liked Saved by the Bell, and they put it on Netflix when we watched it. Like obviously it's dated and it's not as good as it used to be or whatever to me, but it still holds some time. So I thought that would have been cool to come back. Even cartoons like. I think one time I'm going to do a podcast on just Nickelodeon shows alone because I grew up on Nickelodeon and there's just so much shit we can talk about Nickelodeon. I think that should be something we bring in Brandon for and some other people, or just Brandon in. So we have 3 people to talk about it. But there's just so many good shows I could bring back. But obviously they're catered towards children, but it's still I would still watch them. I think I put on Rugrats not too long ago because I saw it was on Paramount Plus after watching South Park. And the episodes, I forgot about a lot of the shit that happened into them, but it still held some weight to me, even though it was dated. I was like, oh, that was great. And Laura was like, oh, yeah, I remember that too. And I was like, there's still something to it. I wouldn't mind watching some newer ones or whatever, but I don't know. I wanted to see what you thought. If there's any, like, if there's that one show that you wish they would bring back, besides, like, obviously we would talk about Beavis and Butthead or the original Simpsons or, South Park that's still around, but is there a show or a TV show or, a cartoon you'd think that you would want to bring back if you could? Doesn't have to be a long topic, just one. We'll just pick one.
Married with Children.
Married Children?
Yeah. But I understand a lot of the jokes wouldn't fly nowadays.
Well, yeah.
Like the fat girls in the shoe store.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, or Kelly being a slut.
Yeah, or how the shoe salesman afforded a huge house and all this stuff on the shoes.
Three kids technically, and a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff that happened in that show would not happen nowadays.
No.
At all. The best jokes ever were the ones when he was going off on Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like she went somewhere one time and came back and says, "Al, did you miss me?" He's like, "Every bullet, every time."
Yeah.
It's little jokes like that. It's just it takes you back because it was so cool that they got away with so much stuff.
It was a good show, and they really did get away with a lot of stuff. I liked the show. I always liked it. I mean, they always said, how do you know it's Monday in Al's house? He had his hand on his pants on the couch, right? It's like stuff like that wouldn't fly nowadays. Like, one of the intros of the show was him taking his hand and putting it down his pants and put it right in front or whatever.
Yep.
Yep. It's obviously a guy trait. Guys do that.
Exactly. I see women do it too nowadays.
Yeah, girls do it too, but it's more of a guy thing because we have balls.
You get home from work, a hard day at work, you just want to sit down and touch balls.
Mm-hmm. Relax and just
stretch out.
Exactly.
Grab a brew.
So
whatever.
I love that show. If I think about a show like that, man, there's so many shows I could bring it back. Obviously, if I was a kid again, I was saying cartoons and stuff like that with Nickelodeon shit. But
before you think about that, let me finish this thought.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard, I'm not 100% sure how it is because everybody talks about it. They're doing a Married with Children cartoon, and they're bringing all the people back, which is going to be good because they're not growing up all the way. Mm-hmm. They're doing the cartoon versions of that.
They might be able to get away with some stuff if it's labeled adult cartoon.
Yes.
They'll probably get away with stuff.
Where it's going to be played.
It's probably go to Comedy Central if anything, because Comedy Central will allow it, and it's more catered towards adults, and they can say after a certain time they can't get sued and all this other stuff. Whatever, they get away with that kind of stuff. Most people forget that South Park saved Comedy Central.
Yeah, very much.
It wouldn't be alive without it. I watched the whole thing about it, saying that they literally saved them.
Yeah. The cartoon that you want to come back. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, you're good. There's a lot of shows from when I was a kid, like Family Matters, and there was like what else is another show that was really big? That '70s show, whatever.
They're coming with that '90s show.
I heard something about that '90s show they were talking about coming out with. That '70s show was good. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite show by any means. Ashton Kutcher was okay in it, and some of the people I liked it because it was like the stoner vibes or whatever. It was cool. But if I had to pick a show, and I didn't get into it until my dad got into it, was 2.5 Men.
See, I didn't see all those. I've seen a bunch of them.
It'd have to go back with Charlie Sheen and all the people on it. But now the kid's getting too old, and they'd be too old. It'd have to be like him in college or doing something. But after Charlie got kicked off the show for doing all the drugs and all the shit he did, it just wasn't the same with Ashton Kutcher. He tried to be Charlie Sheen.
Kutcher sucks. I don't care what anybody says. Fight me if you want. Kutcher fucking sucks.
I like him in certain movies, and I like him in certain things, but he's not my favorite kind of guy. It's just like I really can't stand. I don't care this or not, but I think Will Ferrell's overrated a lot. I like him in his older days and Saturday Night Live shit and stuff like that. But when he became a household name as a comedy in every fucking movie, it got old school. It's got old. Like Old School, he was good in, and like things like that. But then when he started becoming in every name, like and Step Brothers was good too. I can't say everything he's in is bad. But he got overused. I think Ashton Kutcher was the same way. He got overused in so many things. I thought he was okay, or not okay, but I thought he was good in that '70s show. Like,
yeah, it was all right.
That character for him, stoner, whatever. I could relate to that. Remind me of Rory Butler when I was a kid. Like that's who he reminded me of, was Rory.
Wow.
A little bit, not the whole sense, but like a little bit of that way. But so I think that would be the show I'd pick out of all the sitcom shows. If I had to bring a sitcom show back, would be that one. Seinfeld was good. I loved Seinfeld when I was a kid. I was never a big Friends guy, so I didn't really care about Friends. I did like.
They tried with Roseanne, but we've talked about this one.
Cheers wasn't that great. Roseanne was okay.
Cheers is hit and miss.
Yeah, it was hit and miss. The bar scene and people at the bar all the time or whatever. Like everybody knows your name. It's like everybody knows you're an alcoholic when you get there.
Right.
So like I just wanted to bring that top up because I thought to me it would be cool to bring a show back, but sometimes shows aren't meant to come back too. That's another thing I was gonna bring up. Like in there, it's like most shows shouldn't be brought back.
Yeah, just let them go, man.
Let them go for what they are. But if I had to watch a show, that's what I was just bringing up because I just thought it'd be an interesting topic. There's so many shows I could say that with. Dexter was one of them. I was gonna bring up. They brought it back.
That's a good one.
and they pissed me off on the ending. We already talked about that. So but for the most part, I guess I just have to say I'm just okay with just leaving them alone because nowadays so many things get rebooted and get fucked over and make it worse, or whatever, than better. But if it had to do anything, it'd probably be cartoons, because cartoons you can still kind of rehash and redo, and people it's more forgiving than that TV show. I would say at the same, but it just depends. It depends on what show, and it depends on who's doing it. I guess I would say too.
There you go.
Yeah, your mom.
Your mama.
So all right. So bring up your.
Mine was consoles as we were through the ages that we owned, or that we had access to, like game consoles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever played an Atari.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course I played Atari. Okay. Yeah. The original one that you actually used on the TV, not
the
just
2600.
Yeah, not just the one that you used on. You go to a console and like made by Atari or whatever their game.
Okay, this is okay. I'll make a little side note here, or footnote. Just consoles, no computer, no emulators, anything like that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up consoles, PS2, whatever, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if I really had a favorite game with the original Atari, but I do remember Asteroids was really big in my house, and Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Pac-Man, and there's another one, I can't remember the hell the name of it was.
Pong?
No, it wasn't. I never really played Pong. That was almost like before my day, or like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And even Pole Position was cool, the racing game.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to remember like when it was started to blow up. Because the reason why we got that was the kid next door to us. He had a lot of mental problems. So his parents, to punish him, they gave us his Nintendo or his Atari. So we acquired it and then never asked for it back.
Nice.
So and that was the day like I'm trying to remember. A few weeks later, my dad brought home some wireless controllers for the Atari, and we thought it was the shit because we could play baseball, whatever, from across the room.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you got to replace the batteries every damn time.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your take on Atari?
So I've played. So my neighbor back in the day, he had an Atari, but he also had an Intellivision.
Wow.
That was something like, I guess, I don't know if that was before.
Right
before, right?
Yeah.
And I did have a neighbor who had an Atari, and we played it a couple times, and I always thought it was cool. Like, it always grabbed my attention. It was like in the games you saw on there, like, I remember it always reminded me of like going to the arcade with my dad, because my dad was taking me to the arcade. So I was like, I played arcade games before I played Atari, right? But they were made by Atari, so like the arcade games would say Atari on them. Yeah. So like you knew like Asteroids or some games you're talking about were already on there. So it's like, oh, I get to play these arcade games at home on a console. Like I was so like not naive. It was new. Like it was something new. I was like, oh, I just discovered something I never knew before. Yeah. But I really didn't get hooked on games on the Atari, or I did on the arcade playing some games when I was a kid. I thought I liked the atmosphere more than just sitting at home playing console games. But it was cool for what it was for its time. Dude, it was revolutionary. Like it really got people, comfortable and saying that acceptable of households to have something where kids could zone out and play something mindless or whatever they're doing, and it was harmless. Like the them to sit there and just play games.
It became the new babysitter.
The new babysitter, exactly.
And that's what parents wanted. They wanted to get out of here, go home, go outside.
Mm-hmm.
Go play. Okay, I got attacked. I didn't touch it.
Keep going.
Your damn push thingy right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was the new babysitter. Just parents always trying to get the kids out of the damn house, and that was one of the things they did, because then a bunch of kids play together. You could play multiplayer games, and they were, one of those things. And then we never owned a Nintendo, but we always knew someone who had a Nintendo, and I thought that was revolutionary, because it was like a step up in graphics. It's like, wow, this is like so much cooler. There's so many more games. Yes, but the biggest problem that we faced was there's two buttons now instead of one button. And sometimes you didn't know which button to hit unless you watched your friends play, or even, read the Nintendo Powers or whatever, stuff like that. You didn't know how to play a game sometimes because there was no manual for it. It just was like, this is Mario. He's a plumber. His princess has been stolen by Koopa or Bowser. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you flip on the freaking internet, type in Mario, walk through, boom. Shows how to do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it takes the fun out of it.
It does, and you're talking about Nintendo now, right?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So Nintendo, I had a Nintendo when I was probably about, I'd say so maybe 5 or 6. So that's why I got to discuss that. I got it at the same time. I heard I think Super Nintendo was coming out, or Sega was just about to come out, or something like that. So Nintendo's been out for a while. Now, most people don't know. Like now, it's been Nintendo's been out for like 30 plus years, or 35 years, or something like that. You know, it came out in like 1985, I think it came out.
Something like that, yeah.
So I just got my son a Nintendo, and the reason I'm bringing it up is it made me. Well, I'll go back to my point with my son. Nintendo, when I first had it, dude, it was the coolest thing ever for me.
Yeah. When
I had Nintendo, I was hooked right away with Duck Hunt, Mario, playing Sight Bike, or like
Logan's Run, Kung Fu.
Yeah, Metroid.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. That's on there.
Double Dragon.
Double Dragon's on there. Yeah. What are some other games? Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
And Mega Man.
Mega Man. Some of the wrestling games too. WrestleMania.
Some of the wrestling games. I never played the hockey games or anything like that on there.
I played Blades of Steel. That's it.
And then I played the original Final Fantasy, and I played the original Zelda, Link's, the both of Zeldas. You know, they're on there.
And I forgot into the RPGs like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It was. People said it was really difficult, and it still is kind of difficult to play now. I actually have it now on Nintendo. But it just got me hooked. It was something different you could do. It was like a solo game you could play by yourself. You know, you didn't need your friends around, but it was more fun when you had like your family and friends around, entertained around the TV, sitting there playing. It was a mindless thing to do with babysitting, but it brought me happiness, dude. Like I don't know how to describe it more than it was like. It was just entertaining. It was fun. Like
we forgot one of the bigger ones, biggest one of all.
Super Mario 3.
Contra.
Oh yeah, Contra.
The Konami code, man.
Yeah, Contra was cool. I need to get that game actually. And a lot of these games are hard to get. Mike Tyson's Punch Out is really fun too.
Yes.
That's another game that actually didn't blow up until actually I heard like the end of Nintendo's run.
Yeah.
And the game
people found out about it.
Yeah, people actually got more blown up about it now. Now there's, dude, you can go find that game right now. You'd pay $60 for that game to get the original cartridge of it. And I found one online. Some guy was selling it for $10, and I bought it. Could not believe I found it for $10, and it was actually in really good condition. The guy was just getting rid of a bunch of games. I got them on Marketplace of all the places. To bring up back to the original point you were talking about, though, I loved it and appreciated it. And the reason I gave my son, I got him a Nintendo for Christmas, and I had it rebuilt and redone. I'll show it to you after I'm done after this out there. I knew a 4-year-old, between 3 and 4 when he got it, he would be more appreciative playing a game like that and understand it because it's 8-bit and the graphics are not that hard to figure out, and what they're doing is a lot easier, like especially like a Mario and Duck Hunt game. Than playing like, hey, go play my Xbox 360 or go play my PS5 out there. Like he's gonna have no idea what's going on. There's just too much for him to comprehend and go on. But that little game right there, he can comprehend.
Right.
And he can get. And now, dude, now he's sitting down in front of him and he'll go play for 45 minutes by himself.
Wow.
Like, Dad, I died, or Dad, I got past this level, or whatever, and he's telling me stuff, and it's like, it's cool to see because it's like, that's how I felt about it when I was a kid. Like, he's really getting into it when he starts jerking the controller when he jumps and stuff. He's jumping over stuff, like he's like he's getting into it while he's doing it. So that makes me happy seeing that because it's like, man, I used to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, like, I play the game and it's so mindless and easy. It's like, this is kind of boring playing some of these games, but it's still the nostalgia for me with it. You know,
exactly.
So. After that, you go Nintendo. So,
wait, let me finish this one.
Yeah.
Did you play with any of the accessories Nintendo had besides the gun?
No. I just had the controllers and the gun, and I remembered there was like some little robot and something else that went with it or something. But I never got those. Never had them.
I didn't know I had the robot. I knew of a person that had the Power Glove.
Yeah.
But never played with it. And the mat that you lay down on the ground so you can.
We did have the mat. We did have the mat.
Okay.
We did have the mat at one point in time. That was pretty cool. The Power Glove, it was just one of those things that we didn't have any games for it. And actually, one of my friends did have the Power Glove. I tried it one time. It was such a gimmick, man.
Yeah.
And you can still find them out there, dude. They're like $200. You can buy them, whatever. But most people buy them. They're like just to have it display it more than actually like use it or do anything with it.
Yeah.
But like, you remember, we'll bring this up because this is kind of something funny that always brings me nostalgia or whatever. If you're a big gamer, you'll understand this. It's like the movie The Wizard, right? And it's like actually,
I knew I'd wait for this to get brought up.
But that was actually the introduction to Super Mario Bros. 3 as a marketing tool, and then also the Power Glove as a marketing tool for the game. And dude, that really like got people hyped up about games. Like
Oh, yeah.
like seeing kids go play games for a gaming tournament was like
For money?
for money wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
People thought it was like, you know, like what is this stupid thing, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but the movie actually made it more, I guess, acceptable for parents, that the idea that their kids could go play games. Like
Yeah.
even nowadays, people are still very closed-minded about going to play games and do stuff. Now you get scholarships and all this other shit for it.
Yeah.
But back then, for a movie, you know, what's his name from the Wonder Years doing it, whatever, Fred Savage. I still love that movie. I like it. I just
Still, I saw it the other day.
it's cool watching him play in the theaters and just bringing his brother in. It's funny that his brother, I guess he's got Asperger's or something like that, but he's really intelligent. So like he's really hooked on video games and does stuff. So I don't know. That was cool to me at the time too when Nintendo came out or whatever. I guess that was like an 80s movie, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Or 90s movie?
Mid 80s, late 80s, something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember when Mario 3 came out.
But yeah, I didn't have any. But I never had any accessories for it. But we always had Nintendo, and I always played it. But then when Sega came out, I think Sega came out next, right?
Yeah.
Sega came out next. I did have a Sega. Obviously, most of the time I was just playing Sonic. I did have some NHL games on there I played, and
I still have ours.
I still like playing Sega. It was still pretty cool. It was a great console for what it was when it
That's
came
when
out.
introduced 3 buttons, and just like, oh shit.
A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Yeah, start and select or whatever. And honestly, it was not a bad design controller. There's plenty of controllers that had 3 buttons, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like it was just, it wasn't made well. I don't remember having any accessories for Sega either, but I remember playing all the Sonic games.
Sega CD. Then there was Sega Genesis, which is like a slightly upgraded, like 18 to 20, I think 24 bit.
I had the Sega Genesis, not just regular Sega.
Remember that the Sega CD was kind of cool, especially playing like a punchy. I think is
Sega CD was later. Sega CD was later though.
Not much later, yeah.
Yeah,
but later, yeah.
So yeah, that was a cool console. But it was mostly Sonic. That was their big title in there.
Yeah. Sonic, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was on there as well. I forgot about that. Yeah. And actually, that was kind of funny how that went from being an arcade game to an console game.
Yeah.
So Sega, but I think my biggest console, and every time I bring it up, it's just there's just too much nostalgia for me, and it'll always be my number one console as a kid or probably my favorite console of all time is it's going to be Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger ones. That's honestly that is the one where I did not finish the Mario game, Mario game at all. I finished Mario 1, 2, and 3, and then once that one came out, I'm like, dude, there's just too much shit. You know, I can't do it.
If there's any collections out there for people who are big collectors, it seems like there's always someone that's a huge collector. They always got all
right.
If they're Nintendo, it's always about Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know, even with 64. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there was a game that came out before. I don't remember if it was a PlayStation or if it was for Nintendo. It was like the hidden gems of like in between Mario 2 and 3. It had all the extra boards from like secret boards and stuff like that. I think it might have been PlayStation, but I don't remember. But that was fun as hell too, though. Because that showed you levels from those Marios that you didn't normally play because they were secrets.
Interesting.
Or they didn't throw it in the game, whatever, for some reason.
Interesting. I'll go back to Sega real quick. I did have one of the accessories. I had the Sega channel. For the cable channel where you could hook up your Sega and it was just like the streaming service before there was a streaming service or cloud hosted service, we can say, with video games where you could just play any of the games at all times. That was pretty cool. That is an accessory I forgot about. So I did have that. But going back to Nintendo, dude, there's just so many titles like I played. Final Fantasy will probably always have like the near and dearest game to my heart from Super Nintendo. That and Zelda: Link to the Past. Like that's the game that got me hooked on Zelda, made me fall in love with Zelda. But at the same time, Final Fantasy 3. There's no better game I think that was ever made for the Super Nintendo console. In my opinion, it's probably I think it was the most well-rounded game, and it was way above its years, ahead of its time. Because even to this day, the Final Fantasy community, and there's like how many fucking Final Fantasy games now? There's like getting close to like 20 or something.
Yeah, I never got into those either.
But that's still the most popular game in all of them. It's most popular with speedruns, most popular with new fans that played the game. It was such a well-made game, and also, you know, what made the game great was not just the storyline, but it was the music. The music that went around with it. Yeah, whatever. You know, they did the what do they call them? You know what I'm talking about? How they made the SNES music. What's that little midis? They did with midis when they made stuff on there.
Stuff.
Yeah. And the guy that made it, dude, he was just a genius, whatever. And he really did it. Like, and in every game he worked on, dude, the music was just flawless in it. So that's what really like stepped the games up. People like kids and people enjoy the music as much as they enjoy the console. It's like, yeah, you know. So that was really cool to me. But yeah, I had the most fun in that. I think I had the most memories on Super Nintendo, and a lot of it was just me playing games by myself. You know, and sometimes at my neighbor's house, and sometimes coming over to my house. But the game was just, I think it was just way above. Like after going to Sega and seeing what it was, and then seeing what this brought compared to Sega, you're like, man, this is on a whole different level. It really opened my eyes to like how much I enjoy gaming and what it would actually do for me.
But then you had the Sega versus Super Nintendo, gangs.
Fiasco.
We like the Super Nintendo better than this. Super Nintendo has this, but Sega doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those guys that would go back and forth because I didn't give a shit. But which one was better? Because as long as I got to play my Mortal Kombat or whatever I got to play, I didn't give a shit.
Exactly.
But you had those clicks of
and I had both. At one point, I had Sega and I had Nintendo in there, and I had them both in there, right?
That's cool.
But it was cool. Like, it was something I really appreciated, and I would always I used to run home after school and just go sit and go turn my
computer. Oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
As a kid, like, what do you want to do? I'm gonna run home and play video games. And like still kids that do that now. It's like, beer. People like would shun against it and be like, "Well, that's not what kids are supposed to do." And it's like I get it to an extent, but at the same time, it is a babysitter and keeps kids out of trouble. It's not as long as they're not doing it 24/7, 7 days a week, and that's all they do. Then it's different. But as a little kid, it's okay. So Super Nintendo, probably my favorite console on the Nintendo thing, and I beat Sega's ass. So fuck you.
No, I believe you too.
Not you. I'm saying people out there.
So I'm leaning towards Super Nintendo too.
But after that, what was your next console you had after that?
After that, I had a PS1, of course.
PS1.
Because that was big for me. I never liked Dreamcast. I played a few games on that, and I'm like, I hate this fucking controller. It's stupid. So then I played the PS1, and I'm just like, dude, I'm hooked. The graphics are so fucking real lifelike. But at the same time, when that came out, 64 came out.
That's right.
And that's when the real clicks.
That's when the real debate and stuff started happening.
That's when basically the real fights started happening, which was better. Again, I was in between. I'm like, I like PS1 because the graphics are great. Whatever. It's got more titles to it, more game to it. I liked the 64 better on other points because it loaded faster. It was more cartoony looking characters, so it didn't have to take forever to load up.
Yep.
And it was just so cool playing like GoldenEye and stuff like that. I think that was that Mario Kart was the biggest rotation of two games ever everybody I've known. Maybe the South Park game, kind of the Chef Aid, whatever it was. That those games were always being played by somebody's house I went to.
I'll tell you this. So I grew up right when the 64 came out. I was one of the first adopters of it, and my other buddy had the PS. And we would go to his house to play PS, and I could just never get into it. I don't know if I was just biased toward it, but I was like, these games don't keep me hooked or intrigued. But I did appreciate for what it was. It's not like I didn't play the games. Yeah. I hated the PlayStation controller. I thought it was the dumbest fucking controller ever. Until now, like the PS5 controller I love, and then on the newer versions of like the PS2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, the controller got better. But the original PS1 I was just not a fan of. But I would go over and play with my friends and stuff on it. Like I don't know if they had the original Gran Turismo, and they had
Grand Theft Auto, dude.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. We play.
That's what started it.
And there was another game on there that we used to play, Splinter Cell or Splinter something, or was Snake something. Yeah, the name of Snake or whatever.
Oh, you're Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid. That was a cool game we used to play. But overall, that weird camera view you had to play the entire time. That was such a weird game. But yeah. Overall, Nintendo was always my go-to, and like you were saying, it was Mario 64. That was a huge game. It's still a huge game nowadays. To me, the titles, even there's PlayStation exclusives and there's Nintendo exclusives, and the exclusives of Nintendo always are more near and dear to my heart, and I feel like the games are always better polished and well made than the ones on PlayStation at the time, even though they have better graphics. I was just more of a fanboy, I guess, for Nintendo. And until this day, I still think they're made better than the majority of the games on PlayStation. That's why the fan base, there's a fan base for this and fan base for that. Right. It's whatever, teach their own. But like, if you go through the actual library of games, and I'll just go through them what I played. GoldenEye, first original FPS multiplayer game with friends. Sorry, but you can't beat that game. Like it literally set Nintendo on where it was. That and the Mario 64. Then you had
before you finish before this button here, what the one knockoff game that was GoldenEye? Did you play that?
No.
Perfect Dark.
Oh yeah, Perfect Dark.
Okay,
yeah. Well, it's made by the same company.
Yeah, it's the exact same everything. Formula was on Perfect Dark. I would enjoy Perfect Dark more just because of the death matches that were in it. It was fun as hell. You get a proximity where you fill up a hallway through with remote mines, and then you throw one proximity mine in there. One person your opponent gets so close it, boom, that's it. Or you're sitting there chasing after each other with the timed ones.
Yep.
You know, it was GoldenEye and Perfect Dark was fucking hilarious.
Great games. I was gonna bring up Perfect Dark into there too. Just their library games are just better to me. Super Smash Brothers, you know, another organic game that got created on accident. I don't know if you know the backstory about that or whatever, but can't beat that game. That was a game that was played at my house all the time with friends or whatever. Obviously Mario Kart, obviously a great game. Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing. Trying to think of obviously Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. If you're a big Zelda fan, fucking you can't. Those two games right there. Ocarina of Time is probably one of the best Zelda games made of all time. It's probably in the top 3 in my pick. Probably number 2 or 3, I'd have to say. And then Majora's Mask was awesome too. Trying to think of some other games. The Metroid game was awesome on there. Shit, dude, there are so many good games on the 64 that I loved it, dude. I mean, at one point I think I had 30 or 40 games for Nintendo. Obviously, I sold some after a while, whenever I got rid of them, but I kept all the major titles that always kept me really intrigued, like the ones we just talked about, that I could replay over and over and over again, and just never get bored of them. So to me, 64 was a 64-bit, obviously, and it just stepped the game up so much more from Super Nintendo to then. I was like, holy shit, I didn't think it would get that much better. Even the South Park game was really good. There was two South Park games. So yeah, Nintendo to me, there was no accessories. I don't think remember besides the Rumble Pack. I think you put in the back or whatever, and played Star Fox. That game was fucking cool. But yeah, 64 and SNES, dude, it's right there with me. Like those two consoles, just there are so many good times. Probably because it was right around high school and middle school for me.
Right.
So a lot of times playing with your friends. Right. And that's something that kids are going to miss out on nowadays, is going to someone's house and sitting down and playing games together. And I'm saying the kids don't do it anymore, but it's less and far between. It happens less, yeah, because everyone's like, "I'll see you online," which is more convenient. I get it, but at the same time, there's something going about your friends' house. Like, I'm going to spend my friend's house with like 3 of my friends, and we're going to order food and get pizza.
Dude, your mom's a MILF.
Yeah, your mom's MILF, and then you sit there and play on the big screen all night for 5 hours playing, like you're saying, Perfect Dark or racing game, or even Mario Party. Mario Party was a great game too on there. The first Mario board game. I used to play that with my sister and Jackie and all kinds of people all the time. We turned it into a drinking game sometimes.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. What was your console after that?
My console after that was Xbox 360. Okay. It was the first Xbox that came out, and I'm sorry, the second Xbox. It was regular Xbox, right? Yeah. I got into PC after that, so Xbox was in PlayStation wasn't even a thing for me anymore. I just kept the 64, and that was forever. And then as soon as 360 came out, which you remember, I got my Christmas morning or whatever. Yep. I still have that one. It was a Halo edition one because I wanted to play Halo. And that
I'm gonna borrow it, right?
Yeah, that's where the Randu name came from. Yep. And
I remember because we were screwing around, and then I put that on there. You weren't too happy with it at first.
Yeah, whatever. Randu 22, whatever it was.
Yeah, we were testing stuff out.
And you brought up a good point, because something I forgot about. It was so busy online that day you couldn't even get your name and sign online. It took hours for us to get online to actually play online play. It showed
a picture of the globe and where the most traffic of where the games were. Everywhere was China and United States. Everybody fucking trying to get on. Yeah. And
their networks were just pegged 24/7. Exactly. So we finally got in and got to play, and then Halo and Call of Duty and
Call of Duty. Wow.
I just can't remember. I can't remember all my Xbox games that I had. I had a lot of them, but it was mostly Halo and Call of Duty at the time because we could online with play friends. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Probably Halo, to be honest with you.
Yeah. My thing, I had a PS. Not a PS2 yet. No, I had the next Nintendo, GameCube. Mm-hmm. I had a GameCube for a while. Mm-hmm. I was so behind on getting 2 consoles. It was really funny, but I had GameCube. That was fun because I was living with my dad and Marianne, and that's what I had. Nobody else had that but me, so I was like, okay, I might as well play with myself. Mm-hmm. I had wrestling games on there. I had a couple of racing games, of course. Grand Theft Auto. Simpsons game. That was exactly like Grand Theft Auto. That was fun. And after a while, I just stopped playing that because I got a PS2. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was the shit when I got that. Everybody else was having Xbox and all the PS3s and shit like that. So that was my thing. It was just me just playing that.
Yeah.
And that was fun too. They had a lot of great names, games that came with it, and more wrestling games again because I was really big into those. And Grand Theft Auto, which was fun as hell. And you know, and then after that, I didn't get anything till like a 360, like 4 or 5 years ago. Because I just fell off playing video games. It didn't appeal to me. No, I take that back. I had a Wii for a while.
Wii.
I still do, in fact, because girlfriend at the time was big into Wii, and that was fun. A lot of fun, especially the way the controllers were.
The Wii was good. Where I didn't like it, so the piggyback off what you were saying. Sorry to interrupt you. So I went from Xbox 360. I went to PC forever. Just PC always, because this isn't even talking about just consoles or whatever. I'm sorry, it was only puts me about consoles. But I went to PC for a while, and I was very snobby with PC because it was just the graphics and all the things you could upgrade and all the games or whatever, and just the way you could play. And the online play was already there way before all these other consoles. So I was already playing online with people, 4 years before Xbox and PlayStation were doing it. But my next console after that was probably a GameCube. I did get a GameCube for a while, but we shared it between like me and my sister. Whatever, we played it, and it was mostly Super Smash and a couple other games we played on there. And GameCube was really good for when it came out. It was a really great console. Then the Wii came out. I wasn't really a big fan of the Wii. I think I lost interest because they tried something new, and I wasn't ready for something new. And Nintendo was always good about taking risks and doing new stuff.
Right.
So like the Wii came out, I liked it. I didn't buy the console. I played it at my friend's house and shit. But then the Wii U came out. I still didn't get it. The next console I actually bought after that was the Switch. Switch came out in what, like 16 or 17 or something like that. Maybe 18, I can't remember. I bought it, and I'll tell you the real reason I bought it, because I'm such a Zelda fanboy, was because Breath of the Wild. I knew the game was coming out for like 5 years. So ready for the console to come out, and I was never really into portables, but they did it right with the portable. I was like, dude, a first game that you can have a docking station and dock it and undock it and bring it with you places. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I could dock it and play it in my room, and then undock it and bring it in my bed if I wanted to play, and put in headphones or whatever, and so I could be with the wife and actually I'm watching TV and still game, or go on a plane or travel with it. So to me that was like one of the coolest things. And then the idea that now you could purchase games online and store them on the damn thing. You didn't have to have them. Even though I like the physical copies, you could be anywhere and get online and play the game for a handheld. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, man. And going back now, thinking about handhelds, after the Nintendo, around the Sega days, I did have a Nintendo Game Boy. I totally forgot about that. I don't like, you can't, like, I guess you can't count that as a console, but it was like the first portable I ever had. So if we're gonna talk about that console portable, I liked it because it was the Switch, because it was in between portable and a console.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool. And then since you haven't bought any consoles after that, obviously it took me 6 months to get it, but I got a PS5. It was the hardest console I've ever had. I never thought there'd be a day in my life where I had to fight to get a fucking console because of bots and because of scalpers and people online buying all the stock up and then reselling them for a higher price during COVID and all the stuff going on.
Right.
Whoever thought that was going to be an issue, right? Dude, I always just remember going to the store and be like, yeah, I want that one, and be able to point up there because they had enough in stock because they knew it was going to sell out. And this is before the online craze obviously happened or whatever, with stock shortages of everything. So it was the PS5 is great, and it's the first PlayStation I've ever bought. And I bought it because it was 4K, and I wanted to get a new 4K TV, so it like went hand in hand together. And the games are awesome. I do like the exclusive titles. I haven't bought that many games for it so far. I have like Spider-Man. I beat Dark Souls. I have Call of Duty. I played Elden Ring on there and beat that. But besides that, I haven't really bought any other games. Even though they have a bunch of titles out, like I think GTA would be cool on there. I know they had Gran Turismo on there. I'm just waiting for other titles to come out. I'm not in a rush to play it, so I play it once in a blue moon on there. And the graphics are awesome. It's the first PlayStation I really appreciated. In the past, because I've always been a Nintendo fanboy, so I have both now. And it goes back to that thing you're saying, like, you get to a point in your adult life where you're so busy and you got things going on, you can buy all the consoles, all the games you want, but you can never find the time to play them. And got to that point. I'm actually at the point right now in my life. It's like, if I'm lucky if I get to come down and maybe a couple hours a week, I'd say maybe anywhere from 4 to 6 hours I actually get to play games now, where it used to be all the time, all day and stuff. And it makes me have more of appreciation for games, obviously, and consoles. But PlayStation 5 is the last one I bought, and I don't know after this if I'll buy another one. I know Nintendo's in the works of buying or doing a new type of Switch or new type of upgrade to console either next year or the year after that, and I might go after it. But for right now,
content where you're at.
I'm content where I'm at. I'm still a big PC guy, but consoles overall, they've gotten way better. And I think a lot of people like still consoles because they're affordable. They're not. You don't need to spend $3,000 to get a huge, great PC to play all the games. And you don't have to spend $3,000. You can spend like even $1,500 and get a good PC. But
still, it's everything in one. You got the Blu-ray player. You got the the Wi-Fi that's already built into it. It's got everything you need. So it's like it's worth its price,
right?
Because it has all the stuff that you
people look at it like $500. That's a lot of money, but it's like you pay $1,000 for your phone, right? And you use your phone all day. But it's like if you're gonna play this console as much as you're gonna do it, it's worth the money, especially if they put the quality in there. And if people don't really know this, that really are naive, but consoles all that at the end of the day are just mini PCs.
Yeah.
They're literally, if you open it up and look at it, it's a hard drive with a motherboard, with memory and everything else that runs a PC, and it's always been like that with consoles in the past, but it was like dumbed down shit. It was proprietary stuff for their stuff. Now they've made it to where it's just some of it's proprietary, but mostly it's just a little mini computer that's in there.
Yeah. Which
is the way it has to go because of the way the graphics are going and stuff. But I got to a point where I was really bitter and I was like, fuck consoles, I hate consoles. Like, I'm a PC guy now, and it's like, but all consoles suck. And it was like, now I'm thinking about it, it's like, there's a difference between consoles are more laid back and chill time for me. Like multiplayer games are more on PC for me now, and more like, hey, I can put this game down and pick it up anytime I want. It's more console games for me now, and more exclusive titles like Zelda, like the Dark Souls or whatever games you want to play on PS5 or whatever, the Spider-Man games or whatever. They both appeal to me now, in different genres. So I want to play with friends, I go online on this. Sometimes on PS I'll play it with friends or in the Switch, but most of the time it's like I want to play alone and I can stop and start whenever I want,
Right.
I don't have to be like yelling, I'm in the middle of this match, I can't stop right now, that happens on
when I'm
playing like Valorant or Counter-Strike or whatever that's going on. It's like, sorry, babe's like, Laura will come down, she's like, can you stop and pause that? And it's like,
no,
I can't. Like
Rainbow Six, I'm in the middle of a gunfight here.
It's like I'm planting the bomb or doing something, just come in, and it's like I got this game. They usually take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes per match. It's like a matchmaking is what they call them. It's like a pickup game. You can call whatever for like it's like in the middle of a basketball game. Can you just stop and go home? It's like no, I can't. I have to finish the game, right? Exactly. So it's the same thing here. That's why I like the console stuff more now as a dad, because it's like, oh, I need to do something. Boom, stop. Lincoln comes down, whatever. So they both have their ups and downs at the end of the day, but I would say the technology has really come far for console games now, and just the appeal to them is still there. It died down for a while, but I think with COVID and everything happened, and honestly, if anything, I think it just ramped up games to a higher level now.
Yeah, because people were home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now they work from home, so their downtime where they're acting like they're working. They hop on there and start playing.
Yeah.
It's a distraction now. Not so much babysitter now. It's more of a distraction.
Well, it's funny. We talked about in our other podcast. I think I can remember us talking about it. Was there was a point where I was playing so many games, being at home with COVID, that I was getting fucking sick of it. And it's like I never used to get sick of sitting around playing games. I was like, I kind of want to go outside and do other things and just sit around and play games. Now I've gotten to the point now where it's starting to reverse on me, where I go outside so much and do stuff. It's like I kind of want to just come back inside and play games. Like I want both. I want a happy medium.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to burn out either one and do too much of it, because, dude, it's really easy to sit down and play games all the time and get burnt out and feel like you're stuck in this fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Routine. Yeah, just a routine of doing the same shit over and over again. So I don't know. Consoles came a long way. I really like them. And still, I think consoles are more fun with friends. It's just one of those things. I think everyone's went to online gaming now, and I feel like that's just the way it's gone, because everybody likes to have their convenience of not having to be somewhere else to play a game with somebody. But then you think about it too. You just go over and watch your friends and you'd be entertaining. Why do you think people stream on Twitch? Not just to make money, but people like to entertain and watch their friends play, or they like to.
It's just the socialist part of that.
Well, yeah, it's entertaining to them. It's their form of entertainment. You watch people. You play hockey all day. You want to go home and watch people play hockey on TV. They're professional, or even average. Why do you watch people play video games? Because they're average, or they're entertaining, or their personality, or because they're a pro and they're the best at it. And you're like, whoa, this person's amazing at this game. How'd they get that good? Well, they put the time and effort and work into it. So that's the way I look at it, because my wife used to be like, why did you just go to your friend's house all the time and watch them play games if you weren't playing? And it's like, well, didn't you ever watch your friends or like your cousins or sister play games? She's like, yeah. It's like, well, it's the same thing. It's the same reason why people go on Twitch to watch people play.
Right.
It's like, I can watch my friend play from sitting in my room, and while I'm doing something else, there's convenience to it, right? And it's still entertaining. I don't know. I do it now. Like sometimes when I'm on my tread desk or in here working or whatever, sometimes some of my friends during the day are at home playing games, and I'll see them jump on Twitch and they're playing. Dude, I'll just put it on to watch them, just to listen to them and hear them, and then type in chat and make fun of them or whatever I'm doing, you know? Like, you suck. You know, you should have killed this guy or did whatever. So.
What the fuck you doing?
Exactly. So, I don't know. There's a lot of upside down to it. It sucks that we didn't have that shit now as kids, but now it's like, you know, it goes back to that quote thing we were talking about earlier. It's like, even better, we got it when we're 40, you know? There's some, you know, now I have the money, I can do all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. It's a time thing. It's like, where do you want to put your time now? Do you want to sit around and play games all day? I guess my excuse now is, I do. Is now that I have my son getting into it, now I have an excuse to go downstairs and be like, hey, let's go play games. Right? And I'll come down and play Nintendo with him for a little bit, and it gets boring, but, because I've already played all these games and beat him a million times, but at the same time, watching his face light up and play, it's cool because it's like, going back to what I was saying, he will have such more of appreciation playing these games, and then going to playing PS5 and whatever else, he'll be like, he'll just be that much better at games. He'll just enjoy them that much more. To me, he will. Because if you start off playing PS5 and PC, he'll go. If I show him Nintendo, he'll be like, "This is dumb, Dad. I don't want to play. This is stupid." But if he plays that first and then comes this, he'll be like, "Wow," and he'll still have appreciation for those games. Right. That's just me, the way I look at it, because that's the way we grew up.
Exactly. I mean, it's perfect thing you're saying that, because that way he also trains himself for like the hand-eye coordination of not looking down at the buttons all the time, looking up and playing and pushing the buttons, whatever.
And again, the mechanics are a little bit easier back in those days than they are now. It helps
his brain out because his brain is not fully developed yet, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, and he's still learning things, but he's pretty smart for his age, and he's figuring things out. And I'm trying not to tell him anything. I'm just trying to watch him and see if he'll just figure it out. And he's starting to figure things out without me telling him. But it's like, again, the newer controllers are so complex. Dude, they're even hard for me, and I'm a really advanced gamer. And sometimes I'm like, fuck. When I put down a game and pick it back up, maybe weeks later, I forget buttons. When I was a kid, I never did that. But now as I got older, obviously I'm not playing it as much. But to the point, when you only got 2 buttons compared to 7 or 8, it's a little bit different, especially when your hand's not fully developed when you got a big hand. So, to me, that's a cool thing. I'm glad Lincoln likes to do it. Now I got him a chair down here, and he's playing. He knows the computer I'm sitting in right now. This is Lincoln's computer. Like, he'll come over.
That's his now?
This is Lincoln's. So, you know, I tell him, this computer over here, that's Dad's, Lincoln's, Mommy's. And he says that when he comes in, Dad's, Lincoln's, Mommy's. He'll say that or whatever. And he'll sit down in this chair, and he'll be like, Dad, I'm working. I want to play games. Like, he'll just come over, and he's not even, the computer's not turned on. He'll just say he's working at it or doing whatever. And then I'll be playing Counter-Strike, and he'll watch me, or he'll come sit on my lap, and he'll want to play it over here, and I'll turn it on for him. But he can't. He's like, I just want to shoot people. The whole reason I got Nintendo in the first place is because we started playing arcade games, and he was playing Jurassic Park. He's like, I want to shoot dinosaurs. I was like, what about shooting some ducks? Now he's like, Dad, can we go downstairs and shoot some ducks? So it's cool. I'll show you about it, what's going on. But
that's awesome. Yeah,
dude, it's kind of surreal seeing where games came from. But now, now I'm kind of glad I have a son. Even a daughter,
You're Yoda now.
I'm Yoda, exactly. I'm training my Padawan how to play games.
Exactly.
It's kind of an excuse now to be a dad and relive my childhood through my son. So and I know I've always heard people say that, but it's like now it's kind of an excuse. My wife can't give me shit about it.
Exactly.
The way you think about it.
Exactly. That's all I got, sir. You got anything else?
No. I think that's all I got for the podcast. I think that was all good stuff we talked about. I think in later podcasts we'll have that one about Kevin Smith and the universe and stuff, but I don't know. I know we always talk about movies and horror and stuff like that. That's one of our big things, and just nostalgia in general. But I think for this podcast, I think that's all I had. But, yeah, I don't know. It was a good podcast, man.
Yeah, I think so too. Shit.
I went about.
You kept on going about 2 hours.
Yeah, actually 2 hours and 22 minutes.
See, fucking liar.
Pretty long. It was an hour and a half when you asked me.
I know.
For real. But yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah.
I didn't think, and honestly, I just came up with some of these ideas off the dome last minute.
That's the best kind.
I didn't go look for active anybody else's stuff. It's like I like having our own content, our own material.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. So, it works for us.
Yeah, it does work for us, and who are our 5 listeners that listen to us, or maybe we grew from 3 to 5 last time.
I think one was you.
One might be me, and one might be Jen or something. But
your mom.
Or my mom.
Karen.
My Aunt Karen. Yeah, Aunt Karen. You know her as Aunt Mary.
Mar. Yeah. So you know where it's at.
Yeah. So, all right, I think that's gonna wrap us up, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to
Check out the other podcasts.
Check out our other podcasts. Subscribe to us.
If you got any suggestions, we're all ears. Go to mycousinsbasement@gmail.com.
That's correct. And we'll see you till next time.
Later, y'all.
Later.